victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
White House has put up about 100 posters of what they say are unauthorized immigrants.
Would you say that again?
Of what they say are unauthorized immigrants who have been arrested for violent crimes. You can see them there. They put them up on the driveway of the White House. If you look here, that's the West Wing just at the forefront, the executive mansion itself to the left. But what's particularly noteworthy about this location is it is right directly behind the positions where TV correspondents do their hits from the White House lawn. So therefore, no matter what network you're on, that includes MSNBC, if you're doing a hit from the White House right now, those pictures will be behind you.
We begin tonight with the escalation in the president's crackdown on illegal immigration.
Today's dramatic escalation in the Trump administration's conflict with judges.
The Trump administration signaling a major escalation in its deportation efforts.
Today, an escalation in the Trump administration's battle with the judiciary.
Tensions between local and federal authorities over President Trump's immigration crackdown escalated today.
We begin this hour with a major escalation of the Trump administration's crackdown on immigration.
We begin with what appears to be a major escalation in the Trump administration's deportation efforts.
And what is a major escalation in the battle here in D.C. over immigration and deportation.
This feels like an insane and reckless escalation from the Trump administration arresting a judge. I will tell you, you are not alone.
Is a dramatic escalation.
More aggressive moves, more escalation.
Trump's escalation of his migrant purge.
This kind of escalatory action.
This is a dramatic escalation.
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 We see an immigration, an escalation.
Are you rooting against America? Because, like, when good things happen, do you not want them to happen because a Republican is president? Because that's a very un-American way to look at things. And I think that's where we're at these days. I think there's a giant chunk of our population that is so wrapped up in these social media squabbles and owning people online and talking shit and listening to videos and TikToks. They're so wrapped up in this us versus them shit that they can't see that we're supposed to all be in this together. And even if you don't like that guy, if Trump gets in and he does something that's awesome for the country, you should say that's awesome for the country.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really good that terrorists aren't sneaking into our southern border. That's really good. It's really good that they find all the fucking criminals that are taking over apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado, and root them out. Yeah, that's really good. They should deport them. Yeah, they're fucking criminals. We shouldn't have to deal with that. Yeah, maybe we should fix everything that's going on in North Carolina. Yeah, that's good for everybody. It's like these things are common sense.
Dear Democrat Party supporters who may be confused, I get it. You're watching all of this unfold, the shifting political landscape, Trump's growing support, and the rise of the new Republican Party, and you're wondering, what is happening? Let me be clear, the new Republican Party is not the old Republican Party. In fact, it doesn't even include many so-called Republicans, because they're part of the same corrupt system that has been stealing from you, lying to you, and keeping you distracted while they consolidate power. This isn't about party loyalty anymore. It's about freedom versus corruption. Ask yourself, how much more are you willing to overlook? A massive government audit just exposed billions in fraud. That should be a win for everyone. But suddenly, some people are panicking, acting like accountability is a bad thing. Why? Because when corruption is exposed, the guilty scramble. If you're against rooting out fraud, you're either benefiting from it, or you're so deep in party loyalty that you can't handle the truth. Do you realize how wealthy this country is? Do you understand how much has been stolen from you while you struggle with rising costs and empty promises? Do you really think trillion-dollar deficits just happen? That endless wars, shady foreign deals, and corporate payoffs are just the cost of doing business? I believe in debate. I believe in different perspectives. We need two parties. But what happens when one of them stops being a political movement and starts operating like a crime syndicate? What happens when deception, greed, and outright theft become their business model? How much more do they have to steal before you say enough? This isn't left versus right anymore. It's right versus wrong. And if you still refuse to see it, what will it take?
Good afternoon, everybody. I found that video and I went, that's a perfect way to start the week off. 100 days of President Trump, all of his different accomplishments, and yet we still see the media doing their best to obfuscate, lie, manipulate, brainwash, gaslight as many people as possible. And so at some point, we as Americans have to think to ourselves, how much are we going to take? How much more are you willing to take? Because at this point, you have to believe, as much as they're changing the language, they can't even utter the words that are needed to say what these people are. That they're blurring out images so people can't see them. It pretty much tells you they hate you and they love what these people are going to be doing and have been doing to America. There's no sense anymore. This isn't political. I think it's beyond right versus wrong. It is definitely good versus evil. They don't want for you. They don't want you to feel comfortable. They don't want you to feel any prosperity. They don't even want you to feel safe. They want these people in the country. I had a video I posted earlier, which I'll probably show tonight, of a sheriff in California saying, I don't know what to do. They're getting ready to pass a law that says if somebody comes and breaks into your house and you end up defending yourself and unaliving the other person, you get to go to jail, not the perp. Everything they're doing is to go against the grain for America. And the saddest thing, the sickest thing, is how many people are okay with this. People you know, people in your family, just okay, yeah, let's do this. Let's destroy America. I'm all for it. They have no idea what the alternative would look like. So it's up to you to try your best to get out there and explain to people what American life is supposed to be and what it was and how it can be there again. They don't know. These kids, especially in college, they don't know what life was like for us. And I'm a black guy, and I can still say it was great. I watched some video earlier. Some of you guys may see these videos. People put up videos where they take dogs, strays that are walking around the street, all full of mange and looking bad and everything, and who haven't eaten. And they take these dogs and they bring them in, and it takes a certain amount of time for them to get these dogs to the point where they can even touch them. And they feed them, and then they get to grooming them, and then like they'll show you a video 6 weeks later, and the dog is all happy and it's jumping around. Well, there's a lot of mangy animals walking around out there who don't know what it's like to have the American touch put on them. It was funny. Robin was getting ready to walk Midas and Lily, our two dogs, and Midas, that was bequeathed to Robin from her aunt, but she had gotten her from a rescue. So Midas is a special needs dog. He needs a lot of loving still to this day. He's got the best life possible, but if he hears a loud noise outside, he jumps. If he hears motorcycles or trucks, he jumps. I can't get it out of him. He'll come and he'll just jump up in my arms. I'm like, it's okay, buddy, it's okay. And meanwhile, the new dog, Lily, who's just a little fluffer nutter, who's never experienced anything but love. And you can almost see her like, dude, what's wrong, man? It's just a noise. Mom and Dad are right there. We got this. We got this nice little bed. We get food. We get everything we want. What are you worried about? Chill, because she's never experienced bad. She doesn't know anything about it. Everything in her life at this point, in her little 7-month life, has been catered. She doesn't even sleep on the floor like Midas. Neither one of them sleep on the floor. They sleep in beds. They eat the best of foods. They get nothing but love. Most of the time, they're right here next to my feet or next to Robin's feet, and they're playing around with their toys. It looks like romper room out there. I mean, there's toys everywhere. But because she's never experienced any pain, no, you can always hear Midas growling when he's walking in. He's got his cantankerous attitude all the time because it's just natural to him to be cantankerous, besides the fact that he's a Chihuahua. But there are so many people who don't understand what life can be like. And I found out something very interesting over the weekend. I want to share with you. Those of you who follow us in the X group or follow me on Twitter, Robin and I decided, hey, we're going to take Sunday off. And I wanted to surprise her, and we had our driver, a limo, come and take us to Miami Beach, and we had dinner at Joe's Stone Crab. Joe's Stone Crab is one of the, I'd say, most elite restaurants in the country, not just in Florida. In fact, it's the number one grossing restaurant in all of America. This one restaurant did $50 million in sales last year. $50 million. It is frequented by actors and celebrities and sports celebrities, F1 drivers. It's a veritable who's who goes to Joe's Stone Crab. But down here in South Florida, that's no big deal. I mean, because you can walk into a restaurant and you may see the Bentley or you may see the Maserati or the Lambo or whatever outside, but there's always somebody there who's got a better Lambo, a better Rolls Royce. And they all walk in looking the same. Very casual, very, it's not like a California feel. Everybody here is so relaxed. And so you're in a very, very high-end restaurant, and you're there to have dinner. And so I took a couple pictures and said, thanks guys, we're taking the night off. And then I just noticed there were a couple comments that were kind of snide. And it caught me as we're riding back. I told Robin, I go, here's something to talk about tomorrow. You see, the media and the government have been so good at brainwashing people. So good that even people who call themselves on the right don't know how to handle anything else other than the box that they've been put into. And I realized at this point, President Trump has a really tough job, because not only is he going to be fighting the left, he's got to fight some people on the right as well. I look at some of them, maybe you know some of them in the chat here, I look at some of them like Midas. They've been damaged. They've been hurt sometime in their life, and they don't really know how to extricate themselves from that life. And so it becomes acceptable. And so the Democrats did a very, 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 very good job of letting people know you belong in this box, and this box is yours for the next 40 years, and then you retire and you get this Social Security check, and then you'll get that for a while, then you die. I got a text from a buddy of mine who watched the video I put out about AI, and he looked at some of the other videos that I put out there for prosperity. I was promoting prosperity. He said something very interesting to me. He says, after watching your show, I think I realized that the, quote, programming that people have gone through for decades is going to be very hard for them to break. Because people work for 30 years, get a pension, and that's all they know. Because I don't know if there is even a way to free them from that matrix. It's very interesting, because I'm somewhat guilty. After watching your videos, I realize there's more to life. And then he said something that really blew me away. He says, not only were they successful in their programming to make people stay in the box, but they were also successful in their programming for telling people you should be angry for people who aren't staying in the box, who have decided there's something more. And I said, that's it. I saw that over the weekend when I was doing my show. There were actually people pissed that we're talking about prosperity. There's actually people pissed that we were talking about AI. And I'm like, yeah, they know they want more. They wish they had more. But no, it's not for me. And because it's not for me, you shouldn't be talking about it either. And some of you guys who were here over the weekend and saw some of these videos, you saw firsthand. There are people who, we talked about the getting off the Democrat plantation. There are people who were stuck on the financial plantation. They don't even want to leave, and they're mad at the slaves that do leave. What do you mean you leave? You've heard it in your life. You forget where you came from. No, I forget, never forget where I came from. Why? Because I never want to go back there. See, that's a different motivation. That's a different perspective that I take. I don't look at it and go, that's not me. I'm never going back there. No, it's just the opposite. I want to remember. I want to be able to look at that old life and go, you know what? I remember that, and I ain't ever, ever, ever going back to it. And I will do anything. If I'm doing 2 or 3 shows per day, if I'm cutting videos and dropping videos, if I'm buying houses, I will do whatever it takes to make sure I'm never going back. Some people don't even want you to leave. Never mind go back, they don't want you to leave. I had comments, oh, it must be nice and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, you know what? Hell yes, it's really nice. It's flipping awesome to get into a limo and take your wife to one of the best restaurants in the country. I will never be ashamed of that. I will do it as often as we possibly can. Just so some of you know, Ashley won't be here this week. Where's Ashley? Ashley's in the Dominican Republic having a vacation. I am not ashamed that she's doing that with her and her husband. They deserve it. You deserve it. Never let anybody let you think that you shouldn't get what's coming to you. But you got to go for it. You can't sit around and wait for someone else to do it. You know, there are so many people who said, I'm afraid of AI and I fear AI. And one guy said it and goes, this AI stuff, I fear that. And I thought to myself, do you go to church on Sunday? You call yourself a Christian? You read the Bible? Did you skip the parts in the Bible where Jesus said about being fearful? I'm just wondering. So no, I am never going to apologize for treating my wife well, because I've been in positions when I couldn't treat her well. I've been in positions where, sorry, couldn't get you anything for your birthday. And last time I checked, she's still out there 32 years later. So if it means I eat ramen and she gets a present, you damn well know I'm going to do it. And if it means, hey, let's take today off and go to Joe's, let's take the week off and go to XYZ place, hey, let's do this and fly here. Hey, guess what? I found a deal. We could fly private to here. You know what? She deserves it, even more than I do. And I'm never gonna apologize for that. I don't know if you guys know how I work. I'm going to tell you, let me give you an insight, because this isn't the work. This I love. Let me tell you what the work is. Work is when I sit down and plan out a budget. And she says, hey, I'd like to go here. And she says, okay. And I'm like, can you tell me where you want to stay? How much is it? What are we going to do? Okay, we need X amount to go on this vacation. Do you know? That's the work part. Because the work part is, what do we need to go on this vacation? Without ever dipping into anything. What do I need to do this? All right, go get it. I've been in positions where I've looked at certain things before and said, okay, I see this number. I need to go buy and sell a house. I don't need to buy and fix it up. Let me just flip this house. Let me flip this house right over here, because Robin wants to do this, and I'd love to do it with her. It's going to cost about $10,000 or $15,000. Let me flip this house for like $20,000, $25,000. Maybe I'll get $30,000 from it. Plan first, then go make it happen. I will never, until the day they put me in one, I will never be in anyone's box. And I say all this starting the new week with President Trump and his 100 days. Sorry about that. To let you get some motivation, not envy. Don't be envious. Say to yourself, I'm going to do something too. And I saw so many people who direct messaged me and emailed me, hey man, this AI is wonderful. I just wrote a book. I'm like, you go, boy. I had someone who said, I was struggling with a sermon. It was able to help him with the sermon, with his research. Didn't write it, because obviously a sermon coming from the heart of a preacher, it has to have, that feeling. But the research, hey, I'd like to know something, can you show me 20 passages about fear from the Bible? Well, you could go in your Bible and you start looking, maybe you've already had it underlined, or you can go something like, Grok, can you give me like 20 passages about fear? Here you go. Oh, it took about 30 seconds. Now pastor can get it, I'm going to take this one, this one, this one, and I'm going to craft my sermon around it. Don't ever let anyone put you in a box. So I'm going to take a 90-second break. We're going to come back and we're going to listen to an amazing press conference that took place really early this morning at about 8:30 with Caroline Leavitt and Tom Homan. It caused the media to just completely freak out. And the first question was by one of our people on X that I follow, DC Drano, which was the most amazing question that I've ever heard anybody in the hot seat ever ask. I was applauding him like, you go, boy. So we're going to take that, and then we're going to come back and jump into a few comments about what I just said and let you guys tell me what you think.
Welcome back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, so here's a couple comments here I want to talk about. It says, instead of being thankful for their blessings, some people are envious of others' blessings. Yes, absolutely true. Barry, don't give the negative people attention. Talk to some of the people with the positive comments. The only reason why I give any attention to some of the negative comments is because I'm an introspective person, and I like to sit back and go, let me see, what exactly happened here? Okay, yeah, and that's it. That's about it. And especially when you got an hour ride up the turnpike from Miami to Boca, gives you a lot of time. You're talking to the driver, you're talking to Robin, and just gives me time to think. Alex, I caught AI lying to me before, so don't fully trust everything it shoves at you. That would almost be like talking about people. I've caught a few people in my life lying to me, so don't trust everything people say to me, which is pretty much a duh. I turned on the television and I caught the news lying to me, so don't trust everything the news says. Duh. I don't think anybody's looking at AI as a genie in a bottle. You're still going to have to do your work. Okay. I love this one. Have no fear in the Bible 365 times. Wow. I didn't even know that. 365 times it's mentioned. Whew, wow. All right, so we have a big week in store here. Somebody said, did I have to go to the bathroom already? No, didn't have to go to the bathroom, but I just wanted to segue into the next section. Take a deep breath, say a quick prayer, and then move on. So what we're moving on to here, just to let you know what's coming up. So tonight, if I can get the stream with Scott Bessent and Charlie Kirk at TPUSA, we're going to show Scott Bessent talking about financial literacy to young college people. And it's obviously is going to have some information that you could use as well. Then at about 2:30 today, I've got Steve Moore. You see him on Fox all the time talking about everything to do with finance and Fox Business. He's going to be here at 2:30. If everything goes right with the connection, he'll be here at 2:30. So right now, go ahead and get yourself a drink or whatever you want. And sit back and listen to an amazing press conference. I'm not going to interrupt it. It's about 45 minutes long. If you've seen it and don't want to see it again, you got about 45 minutes and you can come on back. So you can set your watch and say, all right, Barry's running this at 1:30 at 2:15. I can jump back in. But if you haven't seen it, enjoy this because it's amazing. I hope you like it.
Good morning, everybody. How are you? Good to see you bright and early on this Monday morning. As you know, this week marks the first 100 days of the Trump presidency, and President Trump's first 100 days have undoubtedly been the most monumental and historic of any administration in American history. President Trump has already delivered on hundreds of promises he made to the American people, and we will continue to talk about all of them throughout this week. Tomorrow, I will host a press briefing at this same time, bright and early again, to highlight the Trump administration's economic accomplishments with our Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. And tomorrow night, President Trump will travel to Michigan to discuss all that he has achieved on behalf of the American people. On Wednesday, the president will host an open press cabinet meeting where each cabinet member will discuss their success thus far and their plans for the future. Today, we kick off 100-day week with a focus on the president's historic effort to secure our southern border. Later this afternoon, President Trump will sign an executive order on law and order and another executive order on sanctuary cities. The first EO will strengthen and unleash America's law enforcement to pursue criminals and protect innocent citizens. The second EO is centered around protecting American communities from criminal aliens, and it will direct the Attorney General and Secretary of Homeland Security to publish a list of state and local jurisdictions that obstruct the enforcement of federal immigration laws. After these are signed, the president will have signed more than 140 executive orders already, rapidly approaching the total number signed by the Biden administration over the course of 4 years in office. Speaking of Joe Biden, it was his awful open border policies that recklessly allowed more than 10 million illegal aliens to invade the United States over the past 4 years. Innocent Americans like Laken Riley, Jocelyn Nungray, Rachel Morin, and so many others were viciously murdered at the hands of these illegal aliens as a result of Biden's dereliction of duty. That's why one of President Trump's central campaign promises was to secure the border and end this invasion. In just under 100 days, 99 now to be exact, the president has overwhelmingly delivered on that promise. America's borders are now secure because of President Trump. He has restored the rule of law, enforced our immigration laws, and defended America's sovereignty. The president immediately declared a national emergency on the southern border, deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion, and ended reckless catch-and-release policies. The results have been nothing short of extraordinary. Between President Trump's inauguration and April 1 of this month, only 9 illegal aliens were released into the United States, a staggering 99.99% decrease from the more than 184,000 illegal aliens who were released into the country under Biden during the same period last year. The number of unaccompanied illegal alien children arriving at the border has also hit a record low. Total attempted illegal crossings at the southwest border hit a record low in February, only to fall to another new record low again last month in March. Just listen to these incredible numbers. In March 2024, under Joe Biden, Border Patrol encountered approximately 140,000 illegal aliens at the southwest border. 1 year later, in March 2025, under President Trump, Border Patrol encountered just over 7,000 illegal aliens at the southwest border. That's another 95% decrease from the prior year. The first piece of legislation President Trump signed into law was the Laken Riley Act, which requires illegal aliens arrested or charged with theft or violence to be detained. President Trump also reestablished the successful Remain in Mexico policy from his first term to ensure that aliens who arrive at our southern border and claim asylum are returned to Mexico to await their hearings instead of being allowed into our country while they wait. The president has also restarted construction of his signature advanced border wall. More than 85 miles of new border barrier are already in various stages of construction and planning. And Border Patrol, in collaboration with the Department of Defense and the great state of Texas, have deployed 75 additional miles of temporary barriers across the southern border. The Trump administration, as you know, has also ended the disastrous CBP-1 app, which Joe Biden exploited to facilitate the migration of nearly 1 million illegal aliens into the country. The Department of Homeland Security has relaunched this as the CBP Home app to provide illegal aliens in the U.S. a straightforward way to declare their intent to voluntarily depart. For years, Joe Biden's weakness in open border policies allowed vicious cartels to functionally control, through a campaign of terror, rape, and brutal force, nearly all illegal traffic across the southern border. President Trump has put a stop to this in record time. He designated these heinous cartels as foreign terrorist organizations and invoked the Alien Enemies Act to immediately apprehend, detain, and remove these massive threats who have flooded our country with deadly drugs, violent criminals, and vicious gangs. The Trump administration is working 24/7 to successfully arrest and deport these illegal criminals and foreign terrorists from our communities. We are in the beginning stages of carrying out the largest deportation campaign in American history. Over this past weekend, it was announced that through Operation Tidal Wave, a joint effort between ICE Miami and Florida law enforcement agencies, nearly 800 illegal aliens were arrested during the first 4 days alone. Among those arrested were a Colombian murderer, alleged MS-13 and 18th Street gang members, and a Russian with a red notice for manslaughter. And on the other side of the country, in the early Sunday morning hours, DOJ and DHS together launched a joint raid of an illegal alien underground nightclub used by Tren de Aragua in Colorado Springs, Colorado. DHS took more than 100 illegal aliens into custody, and many drugs and weapons were also seized. Operation Tidal Wave is a preview of what is to come around this country. Large-scale operations that employ our state and local enforcement partners to get criminal illegal aliens off our streets. As always, President Trump and our entire administration are grateful for the courageous law enforcement officers who are putting their lives on the line every single day to protect their fellow Americans and to keep our country safe. After 4 years of being vilified and hamstrung by the Biden administration, heroic ICE and CBP officers finally have a president who has their backs and is allowing them to do the jobs they signed up to do. There's no person who can attest to that more than our incredible border czar here at the White House, Tom Homan, who has dedicated his professional career to protecting our country and enforcing the law. I will let Tom deliver some short remarks, and then we'll open it up for questions today. Thanks for being here, Tom.
Thank you. Just a few things. Look, I started in the Border Patrol in 1984. I've been at this for over 40 years. I worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan. Every president ever worked for took border security seriously, because you can't have national security if you don't have strong border security. We got to know who's coming in, what's coming in, where's coming in, why it's coming in, right? Even President Obama and President Clinton took some steps to secure the border because they understood national security was important. Joe Biden was the first president in the history of this nation who came into office and unsecured the border on purpose. That's just a fact. We handed the Biden administration, after President Trump's first administration, we handed the Biden administration the most secure border in my lifetime, and he unsecured it on purpose. Now President Trump and this administration here, the success is unprecedented. We beat Trump's first administration on border success. Border numbers are historic low. Today, as I'm standing here, we have the most secure border in the history of this nation, and the numbers prove it. President Trump's policies are saving lives every day. There's been studies done that says 31% of women that make that journey through use of cartels get sexually assaulted. When President Trump has illegal immigration down 96%, when 96% less people are coming, how many women aren't being sexually assaulted by the cartels? How many children aren't dying making that journey? How many women and children aren't being sex trafficked into this nation? How many known suspected terrorists aren't making it into this country? How many pounds of fentanyl isn't getting into this country to kill young Americans? How many women and children aren't sex trafficked? Under Joe Biden, sex trafficking is up 600%. We had 4,000 aliens dying making that journey. We had 250,000 Americans dead from fentanyl that came across an open border. President Trump's policy saves lives every day. Even the border wall saves lives. The people want to hate on the border wall. Every place a border barrier has been built, illegal migration's declined, illegal drug flows decline. But you know what no one talks about? The border wall saves lives. Because the most vulnerable, the women and children, can't get over that wall, which means they're going to a place where there's not a wall. And what's waiting on them? The men and women of the United States Border Patrol who will take care of those humanitarian needs, the health needs right off the bat. We just went over the numbers, and let me talk about a few numbers that are important to me. Under the Biden administration, we averaged over 11,000 many days, over 12,000, even some days 15,000 illegal entrants in the United States. 15,000. You know what the number was the last 24 hours? 178.
All right, so I'm jumping because Caroline Levitt, busy day today, I guess. I'll come back to this interview. But we have Caroline Levitt getting ready to go live at the White House right now. Give her a couple seconds here. Hold on. I'm trying to find it. She's going live right now. And I guess that the press conference with Tom Homan was a press conference with the regular media. This one she's doing right now is with new media. So let's jump to that right now.
Joining us on what is day 99 of the Trump administration. And as I promised, as my first briefing as press secretary back in January, the Trump White House will speak to all media outlets and personalities, not just the legacy media who traditionally has covered this institution. Tens of millions of Americans are now turning to social media and independent media outlets to consume their news. And we are embracing that change, not ignoring it. It's well past time that the White House press operation reflected the media habits of the American people in 2025, not 1925. And thanks to President Trump, a select group of DC-based journalists no longer have a monopoly over press access here at the White House. All journalists, outlets, and voices have a seat at the table now, and you being here today for this briefing proves that. Today officially marks the 99th day of promises made and kept by President Trump. Our primary focus today is how President Trump has fulfilled one of his central campaign promises to the American people in record time, ending the massive illegal invasion and securing our nation's southern and northern borders. As we know, Joe Biden allowed millions of criminal illegal aliens to pour into our country over the past 4 years. And as we all know, a significant number of those aliens have been vicious gang members, murderers, rapists, and pedophiles. Innocent Americans like Laken Riley, Jocelyn Nungray, Rachel Morin, and many others have been murdered because of Joe Biden's open border. President Trump made a promise to the American people, to all of you and your audiences, to end the carnage and keep our country safe. And he has overwhelmingly delivered on that promise. He immediately declared a national emergency on the southern border, deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion, and ended reckless catch and release policies. And as a result, between the inauguration and April 1st of this month, only 9 illegal aliens were released into the United States of America. This is a staggering 99.99% decrease from more than the 184,000 illegal aliens who were released into the country under Joe Biden during that same period last year. You can't get much better than 99.99% decrease. Total attempted illegal crossings at the southwest border hit a record low in February, only to fall to another record low again last month in March. President Trump signed the Laken Riley Act into law, requiring illegal aliens arrested or charged with theft or violence to be detained. And he reestablished the successful Remain in Mexico policy from his first term. The president has also restarted construction of his signature border wall. More than 85 miles have been built and are in various stages of construction and planning. He designated cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, invoked the Alien Enemies Act to apprehend, detain, and remove these massive threats who have flooded our country. And the Trump administration, as you heard from our border czar Tom Homan earlier today, is working literally 24/7 around the clock to successfully arrest and deport illegal criminals and foreign terrorists from our communities, your communities. We're in the beginning stages of carrying out the largest deportation campaign in American history. And despite the legacy media's fear-mongering and lies about this, we will continue with these successful operations because we know that's what the American people are expecting from this president, and that's why they overwhelmingly reelected him to this office. Over the past weekend, it was announced Operation Tidal Wave was a joint effort in ICE Miami and Florida law enforcement agencies. Nearly 800 illegal aliens were arrested during the first 4 days alone. I don't know if we have any Floridians in here, but you're welcome. Operation Tidal Wave is a preview of what is to come around the country. Large-scale operations employing our state and local law enforcement partners to get criminal aliens off our streets. And we will not apologize for this. This is the first of its kind multi-agency immigration enforcement operation coordinated by ICE with federal partners. And this multi-day operation has so far resulted in nearly 800 illegal aliens apprehended in 4 days, including MS-13, murderers, rapists, drug traffickers, and human rights abuses. So, safe to say, President Trump made a promise to all of you, your audiences, and the American public to secure our nation's borders. He has overwhelmingly delivered on that promise. And you will see the legacy media has nitpicked stories to try to drum up sympathy for people who broke our nation's laws. This White House has sympathy for American citizens, for law-abiding families who are doing what's right, who came here the right way. That includes legal immigrants who have come to this country, paid their dues, waited their turn, and are now being cheated and ripped off were being cheated and ripped off by the previous administration. We are putting Americans first every day, and we applaud the ICE agents and Border Patrol agents who are on the ground doing this important work. That's just the border. Of course, the president has been working incredibly hard to unleash the might of our economy here at home. He's in the process of negotiating fair trade deals abroad with many countries around the world who have come to the table because the president is using the leverage of this office of the United States of America to leverage our economic might and to cut good trade deals. You also look at what's happening on the world stage when it comes to foreign policy. The president has put the world on notice. They all understand that we have a commander-in-chief in the Oval Office who is going to put America and our troops first, who's going to do what's right for our country, our nation, our people, even if that means making tough decisions. And we are closer today to a peace deal in Russia and Ukraine, certainly than we were when we took office on January 20th. If you look at the situation in the Middle East, Israel has never had a stronger friend than they do right now in the Oval Office with President Trump. We've had more than 75 hostages who have returned home from around the world, or wrongfully detained individuals. You can only do that if you have a president who's unafraid to use the leverage of the United States. So there are many accomplishments to talk about this week. I haven't even mentioned the restoring common sense effort of this administration to get men out of women's sports, to root out DEI and waste, fraud, and abuse from our federal bureaucracy. The president has done so much in such little time, and we're working very hard here every day. We appreciate all that you do on social media to push what the president is saying, but also sometimes question it. And we relish independent journalism. And I hope you all have seen the president, myself, anybody in this administration. We are unafraid to take questions. This has truly been the most transparent and accessible presidency in American history. So with that, let's kick it off. And I'm happy to take your question first, Aaron.
So much, Caroline, both for having us and for granting me the first question here.
Sure.
And I can attest to the deportations in Florida. My Uber drivers finally speak English again, so thank you for that. But my question for you is, what are the administration's plans for those who continue to defy the executive orders? Most notably, on my mind, are the ones related to what some would call trans men. I would call trans women, which are men masquerading as girls in girls' sports.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Obey federal law, or you will be prosecuted. Obey federal law, and you could see your federal funding cut. Whether you are a college or a university, we have seen the president, again, using the leverage of this administration and to negotiate deals with some of the biggest colleges and universities in this country. And if they don't want to come to the negotiating table to apologize for the federal laws they have broken, to apologize for allowing Jewish American students on our nation's campuses to be unlawfully bullied and harassed, then there's going to be consequences for that illegal behavior. Same thing with men in women's sports. The president signed a very strong executive order, making it the policy of the United States federal government that there are only two sexes, male and female, and we are not going to tolerate biological men competing in sports or impeding in private spaces for women like myself or you. And we've seen states defy this federal order. You've seen the state of Maine, unfortunately, because of their liberal governor, who nobody in that state disagrees with, I will add, being from New England, I can attest to that. People are incredibly fed up with her trying to oppose this common sense message. You've seen young women who have had to go on television to plead with their governor, please stop letting men play against me in sports. We shouldn't live in a country where that even has to happen. The president deeply understands that. That's why he signed that EO. And when Maine decided not to follow it, the Department of Justice sued them. So anyone who disobeys federal law will be either prosecuted, sued, or say goodbye to your federal funding. Sure. How about to the back in the red tie?
Hi, one of my main questions is, when will the border wall be completed? Because it's been talked about for a very long time, and a lot of people want to know when can we expect that to be done?
Sure. I don't have an official timeline for you, but certainly it's a priority of the administration. The president has talked about this for years, right? It was his signature campaign promise dating back to 2016. People laughed at him when he originally brought this idea up, but now the whole world recognizes a border wall is effective. It's a necessary means to secure your nation's territorial borders. Democrats like to have borders outside of their homes, or walls outside of their homes, for a reason, because they know it repels invaders. And that's why the president wants to do that at the southern border. There has been more than 85 miles built just since January 20th. It's obviously the goal of this administration to build as much border wall as we possibly can. And we need Congress's help to do that. We need more federal funding. The president's working closely with Speaker Johnson and Senate Majority Leader Thune to pass a solid reconciliation package that not only provides more funding for our ICE agents and Border Patrol agents on the ground, but to continue construction of that border wall as well. Sure, go ahead.
Madam Levitt, congratulations on this endeavour to bring in new media, and can I start by thanking you for including the British, and I'm deeply proud to be the only British representative here. I hope future events you might include more. Thank you. I've got two questions, if I may be so bold, regarding my little country across the pond. First and foremost, it's regarding trade deals. So your Vice President Vance, has said, no free speech, no deal. The British Business Secretary, whose name is Jonathan Reynolds, has said that in the trade talks with the Commerce Department, the US Commerce Department, there has been no material, that free speech has been not a material factor in negotiations. So my first question is Is it the case that free speech is no longer part of negotiations? And my second question, if I may, is in Britain we have had over a quarter of a million people issued non-crime hate incidents. As we speak, there are people in prison for quite literally reposting memes. We have extensive prison sentences and for tweets, social media posts, and general free speech issues. Would the Trump administration consider political asylum for British citizens in such a situation?
Well, to your latter question, it's a very good one. I have not heard that proposed to the president, nor have I spoken to him about that idea, but I certainly can and talk to our national security team and see if it's something the administration would entertain.
Yes, please.
To your first question about free speech in the United Kingdom, the vice president has been incredibly outspoken about this for good reason. And the president has spoken about this as well directly with your prime minister when he was here for a visit to the White House. So it remains a critical endeavor of ours to show the Brits and your country, which we love and admire, about the First Amendment and the importance of free speech in a sovereign nation. As for the trade talks, I understand they are moving in a very positive way with the United Kingdom. I don't want to get ahead of the president or our trade team and how those negotiations are going, but I have heard they've been very positive and productive with the United Kingdom. And I will say the president always, both publicly and privately, speaks incredibly highly of your country. He has a good relationship with your prime minister, though they disagree on domestic policy issues. I've witnessed the camaraderie between them firsthand in the Oval Office, and there is a deep mutual respect between our two countries that certainly the president upholds.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Spicer, it's good to see you here. My predecessor.
Yeah, well, had to swing by and say hi. Thank you for doing this. I think it's marvelous what you guys have done to bring in new voices, and it shows, it reflects the president's commitment to transparency and to bring this in. So I've got two quick ones for you. The first is you mentioned reconciliation. Beyond that and what he hopes to get out of that, considering how slim the House majority is, what other legislative priorities does he want to see codified in law before this Congress adjourns?
It's a really good question, Sean. I think reconciliation is the first and foremost question on the president's mind right now. It's a huge deal. We have to get it done. He's working closely with Congress. In fact, he's meeting with Speaker Johnson, I think, in a few minutes today in the Oval Office to discuss this very bill and measure. Aside from reconciliation, which we hope and are very confident will include more funding for border wall construction and mass deportations, as I mentioned earlier, but it's also very important that we get tax cuts passed. That is the second step in the Trump economic agenda. The president has used every executive lever he can to slash burdensome regulation, and we continue to do that every day across every agency. Administrator Zeldin is doing a fantastic job at the EPA, I may add, but every cabinet secretary is getting rid of regulation very seriously. The president is certainly working on unleashing American energy to drive down costs, but tax cuts are a critical component of really seeing the Trump economic formula be put together. So he wants to see tax cuts passed in this reconciliation package. That includes no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security for our seniors, of course, too. As for other measures that would be codified into law, certainly we've seen the president put forth common sense executive orders and take really common sense executive action that we would love Congress to take further action on to ensure that the president's executive actions can remain long after his tenure. So you don't have another president come in here in 8 years and undo some of the executive work that the president has worked so hard on. So we want Congress to continue getting to work, but we got to get this reconciliation bill passed first.
Thank you. The second thing I have is just a question I get a lot, and I figured I'd best address to you. You've done a phenomenal job opening up the briefing room, bringing in new voices. The president's commitment during the campaign to do long-form podcasts was, I think, extremely helpful to this new media environment that we live in. But a lot of conservatives will ask me, why does he sit down with people like Terry Moran of ABC or Jeffrey Goldberg of The Atlantic? What is the rationale behind that, rewarding people who have very vehemently expressed disdain for him personally?
Because the president is unafraid. And he is inspired by competition, and he likes to talk to people face to face. And I think that's one of his best attributes and qualities. We live in an incredibly divisive country, unfortunately, that has been really the result and consequence, frankly, of the fake news and the hoaxes and lies they have driven at this president for the better part of the last decade now. But the fact that we still have a president who has been a victim of these hoaxes, these lies, these smears by so many legacy media outlets and reporters, yet he's still willing to sit down with them, look them in the eye, look them face to face, and take them to task and share the truth with them and his perspective, I think is what the American people deserve in a president. And it's certainly a stark contrast to what we had in the previous administration, a president who was hiding, who actually used this beautiful South Court auditorium, which we're happy to be in today, but he used this like it was a fake Oval Office, weirdly, oddly. He was missing in action. He called lids at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. For those who don't know, a lid is when we tell the press to go home for the night. And he was doing that midday. That is not acceptable around here. I will tell you, we're working very early through the very late hours of the night. And the president's willing to talk to anyone, not just journalists who have really been posing as journalists, but are actually left-wing activists. But also, if you look at our adversaries and our competition abroad on a foreign policy scale, you know well in the first term, he went to North Korea. He talked to Putin directly. He talked to President Xi directly. The president believes in direct diplomacy, whether it is our adversaries and competitors around the world or left-wing activists like Jeffrey Goldberg. Sure, Emily.
First of all, thank you for having us today. It's a pleasure to be here. You mentioned, obviously, it's no secret, America has been Israel's strongest friend, greatest ally. Unfortunately, as you know, Idan Alexander is still being held in Gaza. He's both an American and an Israeli citizen. Last we heard, allegedly, Hamas has lost all communication with him. And I was wondering if there's been any update in terms of getting Idan home.
Sure. First of all, the reports last week were from Hamas media, and so we always take that, of course, with a grain of salt. We do our own verification on those reports. I talked to the National Security Council about Idan Alexander last week, as this is obviously a priority for the administration, and all I can tell you is that I can assure you that the Special Envoy Witkoff, Adam Bowler, who's been leading some of our hostage negotiations, Mike Waltz, the entire national security team, finding him and bringing him home is a priority for this administration, and they continue to work very hard on that every day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Chad.
First of all, thank you for the hospitality, always open and welcome, and thank you for the access. And I'll say to you again, for everyone, what I said to you a few weeks ago when we were here. I said it's so refreshing to have a press secretary after the last few years who's both intelligent and articulate. So thank you for that. I think that a lot of people would be curious to know if we have any details of what the private conversation between Volodymyr Zelensky and the president was there at the Vatican. I imagine that we don't know at this stage in the game, but more specifically, back to the border issue, the DOJ stated on Friday that they were floating the idea of potentially subpoenaing journalists to get access to whistleblowers. We know the last administration did not treat whistleblowers very well. There's numerous ones who, although still employed by the FBI or the DHS, have not received back pay and they've been employed, but they're not reinstated. So I'm wondering, does this administration have, do they believe that we should reinstate the whistleblower, like Agents Garrett or O'Boyle or Friend or, Stevenson with DHS, who blew the whistle on the child trafficking involving the cartels under Joe Biden? He, too, is yet to be brought back. Do we have a position on that?
Sure. Well, for each individual agency, the secretaries of those agencies obviously have deference over who they hire, who they fire, who they promote. I can tell you certainly the president commends anyone who steps out and speaks the truth, especially against the malpractice that we saw over the last 4 years under the previous administration. I could speak to the two cases at the Treasury Department. The two whistleblowers there who blew the whistle on the Hunter Biden tax fraud case have been promoted by Secretary Bessent. So certainly we commend anyone who has the courage to step up and speak the truth. And as for those who unfortunately try to leak, especially classified information to the legacy media to put our troops in harm's way, our law enforcement officials at harm's way, leaks like that will not be tolerated. But those who are seeking to protect the truth will certainly be commended and applauded for that. Rogan, go ahead.
Hi, Caroline.
Good to see you again.
Great to see you as well. Great job this morning, and as always, you're really crushing it. My question is about the Epstein files. And a couple months ago, the DOJ released what they called phase 1 of the Epstein files, and they announced that a lot of those files the remaining files, probably the bulk of the files, are actually in the New York field office. They requested that they be returned the day after, and some legacy media reports show that not only were those files returned to the DOJ, but that hundreds of FBI agents are going through them day after day and getting them ready for public release. Do you have any updates from the DOJ or the FBI on when those files are expected to be released, and also when we might start seeing some arrests of the client list?
Sure. I can assure you that the Attorney General and her team at the Department of Justice are working on this diligently. For a specific timeline, I'd have to check in with them, and we can certainly do that for you, Rogan, in the effort of transparency. But I will tell you, the Attorney General is a bulldog. She is someone you want on your team, and when she wants to get something done, she gets it done. I've seen her do it in various instances already in her time as Attorney General, and when she makes a promise, she keeps it. So I think I don't have a specific timeline on you for that, but I do know that they're working on it over there.
Thank you.
Sure. Go ahead.
Thank you for having us here. I've noticed, this is kind of like a repeat of 2016, the legacy media has gone back to not reporting anything on President Trump. In the beginning, we had them reporting everything that he was doing. Now they're kind of going back again to not reporting everything that he is actually doing. I'm kind of the nerd when it comes to reporting. I'm not the headline news girl. I'm the nuts and bolts. I'm the policy type nerd. So what direction do you advise kind of me to go into, like the White House files that y'all send out every single day?
Yeah.
Because that's what people are used to when they want to ask me questions. They want to know kind of like the nuts and bolts of everything. Secondly, I know going into the first 100 days, Johnson's meeting with President Trump today. President Trump has issued a lot of executive orders. What about codifying? Is that going to be a conversation President Trump is going to have with him about possibly a timeline of just taking them from EOs into codifying them, into making them permanent, so we don't have another president that comes in, possibly a Democrat, that completely overturns everything that President Trump has done?
Yes, as I spoke to Sean's question earlier, absolutely. We want Congress to get to work. First thing is the reconciliation package, like I said, border and tax cuts. That's on the president's mind. But of course, he wants to see Congress move to codify all of the incredible things and work that he's done via executive order. To your first question about the nuts and bolts, I wish more people in the legacy media were like you and didn't focus on the sensationalist headlines, but actually cared about the facts. The president is doing so many phenomenal things every day that will never be mentioned on cable news at night. Signing executive orders. We do our absolute best to message that, which is, again, why we're welcoming independent voices like yours with following on social media, because that's the best way to get those truths and those facts out there. We put out fact sheets on the daily about what the president is signing, and they do get into the nuts and bolts of each and every policy and each and every executive action that he's taking. He's signing 3 phenomenal executive orders today. I will share a preview with those with you on those. One of them is an executive order focused on sanctuary cities. It will direct the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to provide a list of sanctuary cities back to the administration. We will review those. If those sanctuary cities are breaking federal law, well, then the Office of Management and Budget is going to look at their federal spending. Again, if you're defying federal law, you are threatening your own federal spending by doing that. There is another executive order the president will sign tonight. We can provide the fact sheet for you on ensuring law and order and ensuring that federal law enforcement and local law enforcement can work together and communicate more easily. And then the third executive order, which actually speaks to the heart of your question earlier about the Uber drivers, will be a order directing the Department of Transportation to include English literacy tests for our truckers. This is a big problem in the trucking community that, unless you're in that community, you might not know. But there's a lot of communication problems between truckers on the road with federal officials and local officials as well, which obviously is the public safety risk. So we're going to ensure that our truckers, who are the backbone of our economy, are all able to speak English. That's a very common sense policy in the United States of America. So the president will be signing that later this afternoon. Yeah, you're welcome. To the back in the yellow tie.
Thank you, Caroline. President Trump has recently made statements about eliminating the federal income tax and creating the External Revenue Service. When could we see that start to play out?
Well, I will tell you, this is something the Secretary of Commerce and the Secretary of Treasury are both equally as excited about, as is the president. And, there's many reasons for the tariffs the president has implemented and the trade deals that he is currently negotiating. Number one, we need to shore up our critical supply chains here at home. Number two, we need to increase our revenue here in the United States. We are running trillions of dollars of deficits. Our country will cripple if we continue down this path. And so how great it would be for the external revenue to completely replace the Internal Revenue Service. So I know the administration is focused on the External Revenue Service, getting that up and running. And as you know, Customs and Border Protection is charged with bringing in the money from tariffs every day. And they are bringing in billions and billions of dollars per day with the current tariff rates and where they are at. So we will continue with that effort. I think I went around the room. Oh, no, one more in the back.
All good. So we know President Trump has been a champion for the 2A ever since he got into office, both times. My question is, do we see anything, is there any ongoing efforts for national reciprocity so we can carry in all 50 beautiful states?
This is something the president talked about on the campaign trail for sure. We need Congress to do it. But the president will always support our law-abiding gun owners, and as you mentioned, is a ardent supporter of the Second Amendment. It's more important now than ever as we see violent crime rates in our inner cities. I've said this repeatedly over the past 4 years. The Second Amendment was never more important than when we had an illegal immigrant crime epidemic spiking in this country. Law-abiding Americans have a constitutional right to defend themselves, and the president absolutely supports that. But to national reciprocity, we do need Congress's help on that one. So thank you, guys. It's so good to see you. I could go around the room all day, but unfortunately, there's work to be done. Thank you for coming to our very first influencer briefing to kick off the first 100 days of the Trump White House. It's great to see you all here, and thanks for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to walk off now.
That should be the press conference. From that, I'm wondering if that's what we're going to see. If that room is going to fill up. If that room is going to fill up with people who are going to be the alternative media, the ones that she can actually get real questions from, questions that people want to hear, answers that people want to hear. That's fantastic, because the rest of them are useless, completely and utterly useless. And I used to think a lot about Ducey. And lately he's become, he had a chance to ask a question today, you're going to see, and he asked about Shedeur Sanders. Come on, man. Seriously. All right, so as you know, we've got Steve Moore coming up at 2:30, so I'm going to try and get in as much of that other press conference before Steve comes on. So I'll put on the other press conference because Tom Homan is worth hearing, and then as soon as Steve comes on, we'll jump into Steve, and then when Steve's done, we'll finish it off. So here's the press conference, and Tom Homan had just begun to speak.
15,000 to 178. Unprecedented success. On an average day in the Biden administration, known gotaways. People we knew crossed the border because they're on video, drone traffic or sensor traffic. Crossed the country, crossed the border, weren't apprehended, weren't fingerprinted, weren't vetted. Average day under Joe Biden, more than 1,800 gotaways. Yesterday, 38. 38 too many? We'll get that to zero. But we went from 1,800 to 38. And finally, that was said earlier, under the first 100 days, it was actually January 20th to April 1st, last year, 184,000 illegal aliens were released into the United States. Under this administration, 9. 4 of them were material witnesses in a criminal investigation. We need them here to testify in a serious criminal trial. 4 was extreme medical condition. We couldn't return them because they were in such bad shape. And 1 was a humanitarian issue. This is unprecedented success. The border secure. President Trump saving lives. President Trump has proven no one does it better than President Trump. There is no equal, it's not even close. So God bless the men and women of the Border Patrol. God bless the men and women of ICE who strap a gun to the hip every day, put on a Kevlar vest to not only secure our border and protect our national security, but the ICE agents in the interior, they're removing public safety threats and national security threats every day. While you're all sleeping at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, there are men and women out there enforcing the law and making this country safe again. And we're going to keep doing it. It's full speed ahead. So So I'll leave it at that.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom, and thanks for all your great efforts. We do want to open it up to questions. If you have border-related questions for Mr. Homan, and I'm also happy to take any non-border-related questions. I'm happy to take border questions too, but Tom is here offering his time, so we encourage you to ask him questions. We'll start with our new media seat today. As always, Rogan O'Hanley, former Hollywood entertainment lawyer, I didn't know that, Rogan, who got fed up with the far-left ideologies of California and now posts conservative political commentary online for his more than 7 million followers across all major platforms. He joins us today from the great state of Florida. Why don't you kick us off today, Rogan?
Thank you, Caroline. In Trump's first 99 days, we've seen a coordinated assault on the rule of law by radical judges who are thwarting his agenda with an unprecedented number of national injunctions. These judges are providing more due process to violent MS-13 and Tren de Aragua illegal aliens than they did for American citizens who peacefully protested on January 6th. As Stephen Miller has highlighted, it would be utterly ridiculous to have full trials and appeals for the more than 15 million illegal aliens that came across our border under Joe Biden. Many are now calling for Trump to circumvent these radical judges and consider suspending the writ of habeas corpus solely for these illegal aliens in accordance with the terms of Article 1, Section 9 of the United States Constitution, which explicitly allows for such a measure when there is a rebellion or invasion. There's strong precedent for this action, being that it was exercised by 3 of our greatest presidents, Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses S. Grant, and Democrats' favorite president of all time, FDR. All 3 of which are not only celebrated by historians, but are immortalized on our national currency with their faces on there. Furthermore, all 3 used it against American citizens, where in this instance, we would only be using it against illegal aliens. I think almost every reasonable American would agree that 15 million illegal aliens coming across our border under Joe Biden counts as an invasion, especially since many, as you highlighted, are now robbing, assaulting, raping, and killing American citizens. Historic assaults on our republic require reciprocal action from our government. Can you please let us know if and when the Trump administration is planning to suspend the writ of habeas corpus to circumvent these radical judges who are infringing on his Article 2 powers and to start shipping out illegals en masse?
I have not heard such discussions take place, but I can assure you that the president and the entire administration are certainly open to all legal and constitutional remedies to ensure we can continue with the promise of deporting illegal criminals from our nation's borders. And I also agree with the premise of your question, which doesn't happen in this room often, but I do agree with yours. It is absurd that the previous administration was allowed to allow 15 million that we know about illegal aliens into this country with very little pushback from our judicial branch. But this president is trying to simply enforce our nation's immigration laws and is facing roadblock after roadblock. So we're complying with court orders, but as Tom Homan has said every day, we're going to continue to forge ahead with this mass deportation campaign, and the president is open to all remedies to do that. Thanks for being here today, Rogan.
If I can also answer your question, as far as the judges, look, we just arrested a judge, Pam Bondi, for impeding ICE enforcement removals. I said from day one, you don't have to support ICE's operations. You can support sanctuary cities if that's what you desire to do. Sanctuary cities can stand aside and watch ICE keep their communities safe, because any public official, whether you're mayor, city councilman, or governor, their number one responsibility is protection of the communities. And ICE has been clear, we're targeting public safety threats and national security threats. I can't believe there's any elected official, and especially a judge, that doesn't believe we should be doing that, and they should be helping us. But I said from day one, you can sit aside and watch, you can argue against us all you want and protest all you want, but when you cross that line, and I've said this 1,000 times, when you cross that line to impediment or knowingly harboring, concealing an illegal alien from ICE, you will be prosecuted, judge or not. And as far as releasing so many people, you know why the Biden administration released millions of people in the United States? No one ever talks about it. I'll talk about it. Why did they release people into the interior of the United States and put them, rather than put them into an ice bed? Why not put them in an empty ice bed, $127 a night, rather than in a hotel room at $500 a night? They did it on purpose, because when you put them in an ice detention bed, they get a hearing in 35 days. Court records show 9 out of 10 people claim asylum, get order removal, they're gone. But if you release them and put them in a hotel room at $500 a night, their hearings can be 5, 7, 9 years if you pull out all appeals. And what are they hoping for then? That another Democrat administration is in power. They can award an amnesty to millions. This is about selling this country off for future political power. That's what it was. The law clearly says if you arrive at our border without proper documentation, you shall be detained. Not maybe, not think about it, shall. And that's what President Trump's doing. Catch and release is over. That's what the law says, and that's what we've done.
Mary.
A question on Abrego Garcia, if I can. The president recently said when it comes to facilitating his release, he's leaving that up to his lawyers. So just to be clear, have there been any negotiations between the U.S. and El Salvador over his release or facilitating his release?
I will tell you what the president of El Salvador told all of you in the Oval Office. El Salvador does not intend to smuggle a designated foreign terrorist back into the United States. He is an El Salvadorian national. That is his home country. That is where he belongs. And the administration intends to comply with what President Bukele said of El Salvador. He does not intend to send that individual back.
So that's a no. There's been no talks.
What I have told you is that the president of El Salvador has made this quite clear. Kate.
Caroline, can you tell us more about the meeting between President Trump and President Zelensky over the weekend? Did that meeting change anything? Did Trump leave that meeting thinking any differently about negotiations and next steps on this?
Look, the president talked about this after the meeting himself yesterday when he took questions from reporters on Air Force One. He thinks that he is increasingly frustrated with leaders of both countries. He wants to see a permanent ceasefire. I understand Vladimir Putin this morning offered a temporary ceasefire. The president has made it clear he wants to see a permanent ceasefire first to stop the killing, stop the bloodshed. And while he remains optimistic he can strike a deal, he's also being realistic as well. And both leaders need to come to the table to negotiate their way out of this. And I do think that the president meeting with President Zelensky shows that he is exuding a lot of effort and time into this because he wants to be a peacemaker president, which he was in his first term. He intends to do that again. And this is an incredibly difficult situation and conflict that President Trump inherited from President Biden, who allowed this war to start in the first place, but he's focused on solving this problem. Does anyone have border questions? Sure. Okay.
Thank you, Caroline. If border crossings are at a record low, why should it still be considered an emergency?
It's because of what has happened on the last administration. We got to ensure that not 1 ounce of fentanyl comes across the border to kill Americans. The president has declared the cartels in Mexico a terrorist organization along with MS-13 TDA. They killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined. Is it an emergency till we shut it down? Is it an emergency so the cartels are wiped off the face of this earth? President Trump's committed to saving every life. Now, I just mentioned gotaways 38 yesterday. Who are the gotaways? Where do they come from? We had over 2 million gotaways under Joe Biden's administration. Why did 2 million people pay more to get away? Under the Biden administration, you pay a cartel this amount of money to cross the border. Cartel's job ends at the border. Just turn yourself in a green uniform. Get released in 24 hours. Get a free airline ticket to the city of your choice. Get a free hotel room. Get 3 meals a day. Get free medical care. Get work authorization in 90, 120 days, which is the real reason they came here. Why did 2 million people pay more to get away? Because they didn't want to be vetted. They didn't want to be fingerprinted. We've arrested over 400 people on the terrorist watch list coming across the southern border in 4 years. How many of the 2 million came from countries sponsoring terror? You think it's zero? Then you're ignorant. This is the biggest national security failure this country's ever seen. This is a border emergency until we end it, end all of it. We're making good strides, but right now it's still an emergency until we shut it down.
Go ahead. This is a question for Mr. Homan. Late last week, there were 3 U.S. citizen children who were removed with their mothers who were in the United States illegally. There have been a federal judge in Louisiana who was appointed by President Trump said that he was concerned that there was, quote, no meaningful process. Are you concerned that due process, at least for the U.S. citizen children, is being flouted and that the speed at which the enforcement is being done could lead to errors, as was the case in the Kilmar-Abreu Garcia case? And then also if you could give an update on the deportation numbers under this administration and whether you're pleased with them.
First of all, I don't accept the term error in Abreu Garcia. There was an oversight. There's a withholding order. But things have changed. The facts around the withholding order has changed. He is now a terrorist. We're seeing the withholding order set aside. And the gang he was fearing from being removed out of El Salvador no longer exists. So the facts around that case are totally different. I'll let the lawyers litigate that. But as far as the U.S. 3 USC kids, I'd said from day one, if you enter this country legally, it's a crime. If you remain in this country legally and you ignore a judge's order about deporting, if you choose to have a U.S. citizen child, knowing you're in this country legally, you put yourself in that position. You put your family in that position. What we did is remove children with their mothers who requested the children depart with them. This was a parental decision. Parenting 101. The mothers made that choice. And I tell you what, if we didn't do it, the story today would be Trump administration separating families again. No, we're keeping families together. So when a parent says, I want my 2-year-old baby to go with me, we made that happen. They weren't deported. We don't deport U.S. citizens. The parents made that decision, not the United States government. But I don't hear any questions about Lake and Roddy had a mother. She's never going to see her child again. Rachel Morin, she had 5 children. Those children are never going to see their mom again. This administration is doing the right thing. Every public safety threat we arrest from this country and remove them, this country is much safer. So parents will make a decision what happens to their child. Having a U.S. citizen child does not make you immune from our laws. If that's the message we send the entire world, enter the country legally. It's a crime. Don't worry about it. Get order removed by an immigration judge. Don't worry about it. No one's looking for it. And have a U.S. citizen child, and you're immune from our laws, you're never going to fix the border. People will keep putting themselves in harm's way. More women would die. More children would die crossing this border. We got a secure border by enforcing laws. We're not making this up. We're enforcing laws under statute enacted by Congress, and it's the right thing to do.
Can you give an update on the deportation numbers under this administration?
What are you asking for? We just provided the numbers.
The number of deportations that have occurred under this administration, whether you're pleased with that.
Last number I got was 139,000 deportation. Am I happy with the number? Numbers are good. Especially if you look at the ICE numbers. The ICE arrest removals are far beyond Biden. But I read the media. Oh, ICE, the deportations are behind Biden administration. Well, why? Because they counted border removals. We don't have 10.5 million people crossing the border. We don't have border removals. So Joe Biden could have deported 5% of his encounters, and numbers will still be higher than us on the border removals because we have a secure border, the most secure border in the history of this nation. Compare apples to apples, ICE arrests and deportations are far more than Joe Biden.
That's great.
Caroline.
Sure, go ahead.
Mr. Holman, talking about the border wall, can you give us an update as far as how many miles are being built today? And is Mexico paying for it, as the president said they were going to?
Well, first of all, I'll answer that question because I already answered it in my opening remarks. To date, since January 1st, there's been more than 85 miles of new border wall construction in various stages of that construction and planning. The president has made it clear to Congress that we want to see more funding for not just border wall construction, but also to support our ICE agents and our Border Patrol agents who are on the ground facilitating with this mass deportation effort.
So he's clear that Mexico is not going to pay for it? Is that what you're saying?
Let's address that. Trump said Mexico won't pay for the wall. They have in a roundabout way, have they not? Putting 10,000 military on the northern and southern border, taking the action they did remain in Mexico. They didn't have to do that. They're doing it. Putting military on the southern border. Have moved illegal immigration to a record low. We're saving millions of dollars every day on detention, transportation, removal proceedings. We've more than made up for the cost of that wall because of the actions of Mexico. So is Mexico helping build that wall? Yeah, because we're saving so much money, millions of dollars a day, that we can afford to build that wall. So actually, yes, they're helping to build the wall.
John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. Mr. Holman, a question for you. You're the border czar. Can you give an estimate as to how many individuals are in the United States illegally? That's number one. And I'm sure you're very familiar with that number and estimate. And the second question is, I have a list that the White House put out of individuals, 100 ICE arrests since the beginning of the president's term, and the people are arrested for various very serious crimes, first-degree murder, convicted of rape, convicted of murder and aggravated burglary, sexual assault of a child. How many of the individuals that are in the United States illegally are people like this, really bad people?
Well, first of all, how many illegal aliens I think in the United States? At least 20 million. Here's where'd you come up with that number? We've been speaking about 12 million for 20 years. We know we got 10.5 that we know of came to the border. How many don't we know of? I talked about known gotaways at 2 million. How many unknown gotaways do we have? Like between the Big Bend sector in Texas where there's no technology, how many 1,000 people did get across through there? We wouldn't know. We would know now. But, you know, so I would venture over 20 million. But your question is, last count, last I looked, there was about 700,000 illegal aliens with criminal charges walking the streets of this country. 700,000. And that's what we're looking for now. That's what we're prioritizing. Them and national security threats.
We'll go to the back row.
Thanks, Caroline.
Yes.
For Mr. Holman, I'm Taylor with Spectrum News. We have a station up in Rochester, New York. It was reported you're visiting there tomorrow. Can you talk a bit about the purpose of your trip? I know the Trump administration is suing the city over its sanctuary city policies, how the executive order Caroline alluded to ties into it, and what your message is for communities and community leaders who say, we're able to establish our own rules here, we're worried about this input from the federal level. Can you talk a bit about that?
Well, the same thing I talked about earlier. I don't think any elected mayor or any elected governor should want public safety threats, those illegally in the United States, public safety threats walking through the community. And what happened in Rochester, HSI agent called for emergency assistance. Officers of Rochester PD responded to a call from emergency assistance from a federal law enforcement officer. They responded, then they got disciplined. I don't think anybody can come up with one instance where an ICE agent or Border Patrol agent didn't respond to an emergency call from assistance from any law enforcement agency. Cops need to help cops, especially in an emergency situation, but they got disciplined. And I met those officers down in Nashville soon after that. I think it was a couple of days after it, and I told them I stand with them. They did the right thing. Law enforcement responding to emergency assistance from law enforcement. So I'm going up there to support the men and women of law enforcement, the men and women who carry that badge and gun every day. They're working the streets at 2 a.m. while we're all sleeping. I'm going to give my support, and they just announced a lawsuit, and that's one of many. Sanctuary City is going to be sued under this administration for flouting immigration law. I mean, the law is clear, and they're violating it, and this administration is going to take actions. I'm going up there to show my support of men and women of law enforcement. I started as a cop. And the community, I'm showing support for them, because the community wants their police officers to be officers too. The communities don't want public safety threats walking around their communities either, and that's what it's all about, and that's why I'm going.
Caroline. Mr. Holman, how close are you to housing migrants at U.S. DoD facilities like Fort Bliss in Texas?
Well, we're already housing at Guantanamo. Fort Bliss is being ramped up, so in the very near future. I don't have a timetable because things need to be done, construction needs to be done. We're making sure the facilities are ready to accept. We're making sure the facilities are able to care for the people. They're going to be detained, so I don't know the timeline right now. It changes every day because of various issues, but we're working on it.
Are you intending to hold families there, including families with American citizen children?
Family residential centers are for families. They're not jails, they're open-air campers built for families, which means they have child psychologists, they have pediatricians. And why family residential centers? Because we want to make sure that child is with a parent. Unlike the last administration who stopped DNA testing, who many investigations of children being smuggled in the country with some that wasn't related to them claiming to be a parent. So we want to make sure children are with parents. We're going to make sure that's actually a family and that child ain't being trafficked. That's the main reason.
Regarding the executive order on sanctuary cities, is the administration planning to pursue any more investigations or prosecutions like was done against the judge in Wisconsin, against local officials?
Well, we'd have to defer you to the Department of Justice, obviously, for specific prosecutions or cases against individuals. But as I said in my remarks, the executive order the President will sign later this afternoon does direct the Attorney General and also Kristi Noem, our great Secretary of Homeland Security to provide a list of sanctuary cities in which local officials are not complying with this federal order and are not complying with federal immigration laws. It's quite simple. Obey the law, respect the law, and don't obstruct federal immigration officials and law enforcement officials when they are simply trying to remove public safety threats from our nation's communities. The American public don't want illegal alien criminals in their communities. They made that quite clear on November 5th, and this administration is determined to enforce our nation's immigration laws, and we're happy to provide the text of that executive order, and as I said, the President will be signing it later this afternoon. Sure.
Excuse me. I want to talk about farm workers. The President said earlier this month that there could be leniency for some undocumented farm workers. I'm wondering, where do things stand with that? And I'm also wondering, does that at all undermine his message on immigration, that it's okay for some undocumented people to be in the U.S., but maybe not others?
So the President was referring to our H-1B and H-1A visa programs, and there have been no final decisions on that at all. But the President, I think, what he was intended to speak about, what he was speaking about, is ensuring that we have a clean, legal immigration system that is being respected and obeyed. And the mass amount of illegal immigration that we've seen over the past 4 years in our country completely undermines our legal immigration system, those seeking citizenship, but also those coming here on a visa to legally and lawfully work. And the President wants to make sure that those programs are respected. Reagan.
Thanks, Caroline. My question is for Tom. Tom, Reagan Reese with the Daily Caller. Over the weekend, ICE arrested 2 illegal immigrants for allegedly stealing Secretary Noem's purse over the weekend. What can you tell us about these individuals' immigration history as well as their criminal history?
I don't have the criminal history, but I know the one that stole the purse is supposedly in the country legally. But, pick the wrong person to steal first from. I mean, Secretary Noem's a strong secretary. I know I've been talking about the success of men and women of the Border Patrol and ICE, but under her strong leadership, she's a game changer. So I'm happy to work with her, despite the media I've read that me and Kristi Noem have differences. Me and Kristi Noem are attached to the hip. There's no daylight between us. We're both going to push the president's agenda. She's a strong secretary, and I'm glad she's in here. And I'm glad, but again, the illegal alien, pick the wrong person, steal first from them.
Mary Margaret, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. I have 2 questions, one for Mr. Homan, one for you on the White House Correspondents' Center. I'd like to start with you, though, Tom Homan. This list has a very high number of sexual assaults on a child. Can you comment on that and why there's so many crimes against children committed by illegals in this country?
I don't know why. It's sick. It's the worst crime in the world is when you sexually assault a child. I mean, the most innocent of us all. But that's why I made a statement that one time I was going to go to Boston, bring hell with me. And the media went crazy. At the time, Homan said he's going to go to Boston, bring hell with him. I was going to bring hell to illegal aliens that rape children. There's not more heinous crime. And as you can see, the amount of child rapists we've arrested under this administration, that could have been arrested under the Biden administration. They were out there. They had their final orders. They were out there. But they didn't go look for them. They're too busy releasing millions of illegal aliens in this country. And the numbers prove it. The removal numbers of criminals was the lowest. ICE had the lowest number of removals in the history of ICE under Joe. At the same time, you had historic illegal immigration on the border. ICE had the lowest numbers in the history of the agency. That shows the difference between the 2 administrations. We're looking for every one of them. People want to know, okay, when am I going to retire for the 3rd time? I'll retire when every public safety threat, national security threat, child rape is eradicated from this country. That's when I'll rest.
Thank you so much. And then Caroline, really quick. Alex Thompson said at the White House Correspondents' Center, and I'm going to read his quote, "President Biden's decline and its cover-up by the people around him is a reminder that every White House, regardless of the party, is capable of deception. We, myself included, missed a lot of this story, and some people trust us less because of it." Can you comment on those remarks and whether you agree with that assessment?
I do agree with that assessment from Alex Thompson, who I understand won an award for writing a story months and perhaps years after the American people already knew that story to be true. Millions of Americans watched our mentally incompetent president struggle with his day-to-day duties of this office. We watched our country be ran into the ground as a result, and nobody in the media wanted to write about that, talk about it. There were many reporters, I will say, right-leaning reporters who did talk about that, who didn't get awards, didn't get coverage. In fact, they were lambasted for their coverage. And I remember being being on President Trump's campaign, talking about Joe Biden's clear mental incompetence and being accused by people in this room of manufacturing deep fake videos, trying to persuade the public into not believing what they saw with their own eyes for many years. And I think it's about time the legacy media finally admits that was one of the greatest cover-ups and scandals that ever took place in American history, and certainly it did contribute to the decline in the trust that Americans have for the legacy media. Peter, which, by the way, is why we've made many changes to this briefing room in this White House. It's long overdue. Peter, go ahead.
Thank you. A few things. You guys arrested a Milwaukee County Circuit judge for allegedly helping illegal immigrants get away. As you guys look at other judges, would you ever arrest somebody higher up on the judicial food chain, like a federal judge or even a Supreme Court justice?
Well, that's a hypothetical question. Again, I defer you to the Department of Justice for individuals that they are looking at or individual cases. But let's be clear about what this judge did. She obstructed federal law enforcement who were looking for an illegal alien in her courthouse. She showed that illegal alien the door to evade law enforcement officials. That is a clear-cut case of obstruction. You don't have to be a lawyer to understand that. And so anyone who is breaking the law or obstructing federal law enforcement officials from doing their jobs is putting themselves at risk of being prosecuted, absolutely.
You guys have at least 18 written trade proposals. We still don't know who they are from or what they contain. What is the holdup with that?
There's no holdup. We're working around the clock. The trade team is working all day. I was on the phone late last night with Secretary Lutnick. I was on the phone this weekend as well with Secretary Bessent. I mean, the entire team is working 24/7 to get these trade deals done, and I think you'll be hearing more about them this week. I don't want to get ahead of the trade team or the president in announcing potential deals, but certainly I can assure the American public that this administration is full speed ahead in cutting good and fair trade deals on behalf of the American worker.
And one more. After the president's Truth Social post, the Browns finally took Shadur Sanders. Does the president think he deserves credit for Sanders getting picked? And does he think going to the Browns is better than being undrafted?
Hey, all I will say is the president put out a statement, and a few rounds later he was drafted. So I think the facts speak for themselves on that one, Peter. We'll go to the back row in the middle, to the blonde. Yes,
Caroline.
hello.
President Trump has said that Secretary Hegseth will get it together. Does he think that Hegseth doesn't have it together right now?
Look, the president has made his position on Secretary Hegseth quite clear. He absolutely has confidence in the Secretary's ability to lead the Pentagon. It's why he nominated him for this position. It's why the Senate voted to confirm him in this position. And look at the success that DOD has had thus far. Their successful operation against the Houthi terrorists in the Middle East. You look at the recruitment and retention levels for all branches of our armed forces are on the incline, which is exactly what this president intended to do. Secretary Hegseth has completely wiped out DEI from the Pentagon as well. And so he's going to remain focused on standing up for our war fighters, on implementing President Trump's peace through strength foreign policy agenda abroad, and the president supports him in his role. Sure.
Many are wondering how these 10 or 20 million people are working. Is there some efforts to clamp down on employment? Because they're working somewhere to keep staying here.
The number of worksite enforcement actions have tripled this year, and it's going to triple again. Because in sanctuary jurisdictions especially, if we can't arrest the bad guy in the safety and security of a county jail, and they're going to release them into the community, that means we go into the community. If we can't arrest them in the community, we'll arrest them at their work site. We got to do what we got to do to arrest public safety threats. There's no sanctuary for public safety threats in this country, so worksite enforcement is going to increase even more than it already has. And another reason for worksite, the last administration stopped worksites. Where's the number one place we find victims of trafficking? Victims of forced labor trafficking and work sites. So not only are we going to enforce law on work sites, we're going to save victims of trafficking. That's another reason we've increased worksite enforcement.
Awesome. Well, go ahead, Brian. Sure. We'll take one more question.
Thank you. This is for Mr. Holman. We all walk by these heinous yard signs that are along Pebble Beach.
what is some of the feedback that your ICE agents are getting in the field from the community as they remove these individuals from their families, their neighborhood, their schools, or all the places in their community? What's been the reaction that your ICE agents have gotten from the people who live amongst these individuals?
Okay, before he answers that question, he said the signs along Pebble Beach, and he called them heinous signs along Pebble Beach. So you know he's a liberal reporter. Pebble Beach is that area in front of the White House where all the reporters stand when they're doing their reports. And they put it up today so that as they're doing reports, the signs are right behind them with the faces of newcomers who've been arrested and their crimes. And he calls it heinous for having those signs put up. So let's hear what Tom Homan has to say about that.
Morale of ICE and Border Patrol is at all-time high because they're getting to uphold the oath they took and they're enforcing the law. Border Patrol and the Biden administration, I met with hundreds of them. They felt like Uber drivers and tourist agents. These men and women joined the ranks of ICE and Border Patrol to enforce the law, make the community safer, and protect national security. I hear it all the time. There's a lot of people in this country who don't like me. I don't care. But when I walk to an airport, I have many people walking up to me and thank me for what I'm doing, and I'm not taking credit for anything. The success of the border and immigration enforcement is President Trump and the men and women wearing that uniform. God bless each and every one of them. But I take a pleasure in seeing it because in 40 years of doing this job, people always want to say, why are you so emotional when you testify? Why are you so emotional on network? Because if they wore my shoes for 40 years, they'd understand why I'm emotional. I've talked to little girls as young as 9 years old that were raped multiple times by the cartel members. And when you get to your knees and you talk to that little girl and everything innocent and pure has been ripped from her, when you listen to the Laken Riley, 17 minutes, that young lady fighting for her life, don't just think, okay, a young woman died. Think of how she died, the terror that she went through, and these children are sexually assaulted. I stood in the back of a tractor trailer and 19 dead people at my feet that baked to death. Illegal immigration is not a victimless crime. And so every sick person we take off the streets, especially child rapists, it makes this country much safer. Every illegal alien we arrest, public safety threat, one at a time makes this country safer. But I got one thing I need to say real quick before I leave.
Take your notes from me, Tom.
Take my notes from me. I'm going to read it. I don't want any misinterpretation when I'm reading it. The registration requirements under 8 U.S.C. 1302, if you're illegal alien in the United States, this message is for you. You cannot hide from ICE. We're actively looking for you. Federal law requires every alien in the United States who has been present in the United States for more than 30 days needs to register. For those 14 years or older, you need to be fingerprinted with the Department of Homeland Security. Federal law requires every alien in the United States to tell DHS in writing if you have a change of address within 10 days of changing that address. Failing to register with DHS and failure to tell DHS about your new address are criminal offenses, and they're going to be treated as such. Starting today. Make no mistake, if you're in the country illegally and you fail to do what the law requires, we will prosecute you, you will go to jail, then we'll deport you. Second law, penalties for failure to depart, 8 U.S.C. 1253. If you're alien inside the United States who has a final order, this message is for you. If you have a final order, the Trump administration is committed to enforcing our immigration laws, especially for those aliens who have received final orders of deportation. There are currently around 1.4 million illegal aliens who have been ordered removed but remain here in violation of the law. We will aggressively prosecute, consistent with long-standing law, those aliens for failing or refusing to depart or who takes other related actions aimed at hindering their removal. You cannot open the door, you cannot answer our questions, you cannot open your car door, you consider to evade law enforcement. If you fail to leave the United States after receiving a removal order, we can and will issue monetary fines up to $998 a day. Evading your arrest, knowing you have a final order or removal, is a criminal offense. We will prosecute, then we'll deport you. Get your affairs in order. If you're in the country illegally, work with ICE, go to CBP One Home app, and leave on your own. Because we have to find you, deport you, and prosecute you You'll have a bar placed on you, and you won't come back to this country. You won't be able to come back on a visitor's visa, a tourist visa. If you have a U.S. citizen child, can't petition for you. If you're in this country, well, you get your affairs in order and work with us and get yourself removed from this country. That's what law requires, and we're going to enforce that law.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom. You can get back to work now. Look, he's already leaving. He's got a lot to do, a lot of illegal immigrants to deport. But thanks, everyone, for joining us bright and early this morning. As I said at the top, we will do this again tomorrow to talk about the economy, which is another promise made and kept by the president. And I'll be joined by the Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, 8:30 tomorrow morning. Today, the president is welcoming the Super Bowl champions, Philadelphia Eagles. If we have any Philly fans, that will be at 4 o'clock. And then the president will sign those executive orders I spoke of and a few others at 5 p.m. So we'll see you all later. Have a great day.
Thanks, Caroline.
I guess these people don't want me to have any lunch. We're called this the Trump diet. So tonight we've got Scott Bessent doing the workshop for financial literacy. Tomorrow, Tuesday, she's got her normal press conference. Then tomorrow night is the big rally in Michigan. And then today, he's meeting the Philadelphia Eagles, which I'll probably just wait and show that at the evening show with Scott Bessent. It's just never going to end. I don't know, maybe that's how I lose weight now, go on the Trump diet. But as you saw, I've never seen that before. Have you ever seen any administration that had two press conferences back to back with different people in the press, traditional and new media, and it was like watching two different worlds? These idiots over here are just embroiled and love the idea of newcomers and, oh my God, you deported the kids, and when are you going to bring the Maryland man back? What? What part aren't you getting? Let's just say it again. He's never coming back. Not unless for some way straight in the imagination you're able to get a Democrat president who brings them back from El Salvador. But in any event, he's not coming back for at least the next 3 years. Not going to happen. Deal with it. Why are you still why is it still a news item? Why are you still writing articles and tweets about the Maryland man? It's over. Well, speaking of what else is over, the Democrat Party is over. The media is over. They're putting out fake polls to try and get you and say, oh, Trump's approval rating is horrible. Yeah, right. We're believing that. No way. All right, so since it looks like Steve Moore is not going to be able to join us, Ashley will reschedule that when she's back from the beach in the Dominican Republic. But luckily, I've got more stuff to film. You see, we've been here for almost 2 hours, and we ain't done yet. So SV, during that press conference, broke some news. And the news is they're going to impeach President Trump. They so much have nothing, nothing. All they can do at this point is try to obstruct, try to impede, just get in the way. There is no Democrat Party. This is just an opposition at this point. That they're just opponents against America. So here's what got posted earlier. And when I say earlier, about 15 minutes ago. Breaking, Democrat Representative, I never heard this guy, Shri Thaneter, has just introduced articles of impeachment against President Trump, including obstruction of justice. Meanwhile, Democrats are cheering for judges who actually obstruct justice by harboring illegals. The Democrat Party is a total freaking joke. Couldn't have said it better myself. So let's look at a video by Mr. What's his name? Chahandar. And by the way, he's from Michigan, so maybe he'll have a chance to meet President Trump tomorrow. Here's Mr. Chahandar. Where is that? Let me bring it up. Okay, here we go.
This is Congressman Shri Thaneter. Donald Trump has already done real damage to our democracy. But defying a unanimous 9-0 Supreme Court ruling, that has to be the final straw. It's time we impeach Donald J. Trump. The court said the wrongfully deported Kilmer Garcia must be allowed to return and receive due process. Trump ignored it. He ignored the Constitution. He ignored the very checks and balances that keep our democracy intact. This isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a dangerous, deliberate pattern. That's why today I introduced a resolution to impeach Donald J. Trump, outlining 7 articles of impeachment. Article 1, obstruction of justice and abuse of executive power. From denying due process to unlawful deportations, Trump defied court orders. Article 2, taking away Congress's power of the purse. Trump dismantled agencies and froze funds without permission from Congress. Article 3, abuse of trade powers and international aggression. He imposed damaging tariffs and threatened military invasions of our allies. Article 4, violation of First Amendment rights. He has retaliated against journalists, attorneys, and critics for exercising their right to free speech. Article 5, creation of an unlawful office establishing the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, and giving Elon Musk unconstitutional power over our government and personal data. Article 6, bribery and corruption. He has dismissed criminal cases and solicited payments from foreign governments and coerced legal settlements for personal and political gain. Article 7, tyrannical overreach. Finally, and most importantly, he is attempting to consolidate unchecked power and erode the constitutional limits of the presidency. In this country, we have presidents, not kings. That's not just misconduct, it's impeachable misconduct. This isn't leadership, it's tyranny. If we let this stand, we are saying the president is above the law, that the United States Constitution is optional. I won't be silent, and I'm calling on all my colleagues, Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, to stand up with me. Enough is enough. Donald J. Trump must be impeached.
If there was anything that you needed to prove to you that these people were bat poop crazy, completely feckless, out of their, as Tim Burchett would say, dadgum minds, that should do it for you. That should show you right now, with full clarity, these people are done. Right, this dude, we're going to impeach him. Impeach him because, we don't have anything else to do. And unfortunately, there's probably 30 or 40% of the American population that are like, oh, yes, do that thing. They got nothing. And it's worse because you think to yourself, is there no one in the Democrat Party go, shut up. You're just making it worse. Go back to Michigan. I don't know, have some curry. Forget about it. This ain't going to work for you. It's not going to happen. I can get you some curry in a hurry and we'll just forget you even made that hostage video. But nope, they will applaud it. And they know what also will happen because, as I just showed it, every probably news station will be talking about the Fandadar's impeachment filing. And that's going to be news. When everybody also knows simultaneously, it doesn't matter. It's not worth the paper it's written on or the button in terms of electronic, whatever. It goes nowhere. Nowhere. Republicans, well, they better not vote for it. And even if they somehow were able to jump the hoop and get to the Senate, you need 67 people. It's dead on arrival. You're a joke. You've just let everyone in Michigan know you're a joke. Please get this guy out of office. Please, please, please. I mean, if anything, right now, you guys have to realize, the biggest thing you have to realize is these people have nothing. I don't know how else to get people to understand, but the problem is because they have nothing, they're trying everything. They're just throwing every bit of baby poop against the wall to see if something can stick, but it can't because they're bat poop crazy. There's no possible way this is going to work for them. Enjoy the crazies, enjoy the pink hairs and the blue hairs, but now it's to the point where even the media is feckless. That second press conference was way better than the first press conference. I'm going to show you some stuff about the press here in a minute, but needless to say, Shandahar, or whatever his name is, and whoever did his wig for him, you're a joke. You're an absolute joke. All right, so let me talk to you about the people from, what do you call it? Patriot Addict. All right, Patriot Addict is back with a brand new Trump collector's bundle for you called the Berry Pack, named after somebody I know. This Berry Pack is the ultimate Trump collection featuring the Trump sequel hat, a Trump watch that's been selling out nationwide, by the way, and a Trump blanket. Oh, wait a minute. Let me get the blanket. Do I have it, or did Robin take it? I think, I do have it here. Here is the beautiful Trump blanket. Right there. There you go. You guys see it? Can you see it? You see it? Yeah. it's a great blanket. It is warm. It'll keep you warm and proud. And then, of course, we have the legendary Trump red knife. So now you have to think to yourself, why did I show you the hat, the blanket, and the Trump red knife? Why did I show you all of this? Have you seen it? Many of you have this knife already. Many of you may have this hat, and some of you may even have the blanket. But, and this knife, as you know, will come as a free gift with every Berry Pack order. No shipping charges. No hidden fees either on the knife. All these items would normally cost $238 if you bought them separately. The hat, the watch, I don't have the Trump watch, the knife, and the blanket. All four items. All of it. You get all of it. The Berry Pack is huge. Huge. All of it. Normally costs $238. But they're practically giving it away to the Fanfare family for just $69. And just have to understand, it was $59, it's gone to $69, it may rise again. So just be aware, prices have gone up on this, so I strongly recommend you take action now. They set aside just 500 packs for my audience, and they are already down to the last few. And I can't guarantee this collection will ever be available again. All of these things, the knife, the hat, the blanket, the watch, all for $69. And guess what? Free shipping. $69 and free shipping. So go ahead and scan the QR code right now or visit berrypack.com to claim yours before they disappear forever. Now, some people have said, I don't know what to do with the QR code because it goes off the screen. Just go ahead and take a picture of it and you should be able to open it in your phone. Or go to berrypack.com or scan that QR code right now. It's a great deal. I think it's awesome. I think you guys should jump on it if you have a chance. If you can afford it, $69 is not a bad deal for this. All right, so that being said, let me talk to you about the press. Earlier I showed you a video where they were all saying in unison over and over and over the same words. They just kept saying escalation, escalation, escalation. You know what they call it? They call that propaganda. They call it a psyop, where everybody is staring and saying the same thing. And they do it all the time. And why do they do it? Because it works. It obviously works. Here's some more for you.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Does the president have the stamina, physically and mentally?
So before we get to the next piece, let me just explain that. They're right. It is extremely dangerous to our democracy. When you are openly trying to do a psyop on the American people, that is extremely dangerous to our republic. See, part of that is also to keep saying democracy, democracy, democracy. They don't want people to understand that this is a republic. That's part of the psyop as well. And it works. Obviously, there wouldn't be people running through the street and burning Teslas if it didn't work. And if it didn't work, they would be telling people, stop committing crime, stop burning Teslas, stop doing all this crazy stuff that you're doing. But they don't. So over the weekend, not sure if you saw it, I don't blame you if you didn't, but they had the annual White House Correspondents' Dinner. The one where President Trump said, stick it, none of us from my administration are going, we want nothing to do with this, nothing whatsoever. You people are evil. You're not bad at your job. You're absolutely evil. And so, as I lead into that, I want to show you. Remember, I don't know, long time ago, like November, and they were trying to tell you that Joe Biden was sharp as a tack. Oh, he was awesome. He was best.
Do you think to continue on even after 2024?
Don, you're asking me this question. Oh my gosh, he's the president of the United States. You know, I can't even keep up with him.
The most difficult part about a meeting with President Biden is preparing for it, because he is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
I can testify because I've been working very closely with this president for the past 2 years. I've been knowing him for 30 years. And I'm telling you, this guy's tough. He's smart. He's on his game.
Joe Biden has vision. He has knowledge. He has a strategic thinker.
The president is focused. He's detail-oriented. He's always thinking about the big picture.
He is engaging. He is capable. He has an incredible record as president.
And I'm often with him on foreign trips. He's at the top of his game.
So he has a vision. He has knowledge. He has judgment. He has a strategic thinking.
I met with the president, 5 or 6 weeks ago, and he seemed fine to me.
I have complete confidence in the president. I have watched him expertly guide meetings of staff and cabinet members. I could not have more confidence in the president.
I would just tell you that I meet frequently with the president, and every single time I meet with him, he is just fine.
But he is, again, knowledgeable, wise.
Incredibly sharp, incredibly probing, incredible command of the details.
He is sharp. He is on top of things.
There is nothing to these challenges, these suggestions that somehow he's not sharp and he's not capable.
We see Joe Biden up close. We know how attuned he is to the issue.
And you're going to see how smart he is and the experience he has.
I say his age is an asset.
Aha! He's wise.
Yes, he's wise. He has wisdom. He has experience.
And his experience, because of his age and his wisdom, has been invaluable to this country.
A lot of countries, people who've been in office a longer period of time are praised for their wisdom.
I have seen a lot of 72-year-olds not as capable as this 80-year-old.
It is hard for us to keep up with this president.
His mental acuity is great. It's fine. It's as good as it's been over the years.
he's fine. All this right-wing propaganda that his mental acuity has declined is wrong.
And this kind of sense that he's not ready for this job is just a bucket of BS that's so deep, your boots will get stuck in.
Yeah. We journalists.
So they spent the better part of, 3 years trying to tell us that this corpse was sharp as a tack, and the media did nothing but ignore everything they saw and lie to you on a daily basis and never even ask questions. And if we brought it up, we were cultists. We were the bad people for even not recognizing, man, this guy can't even tie his shoes. How the heck is he going to be president? Oh, you guys shouldn't be talking about it. After what I'm going to show you, if you didn't think this before, you will think it after the next 3 minutes. And that being, why would anybody ever listen to the media ever again? In your own personal life, if somebody lies to you over and over and over, how often do you look to them for advice? How often do you want to be around them? And it seems like there's some sort of disconnect. People keep listening to these people, hoping for a different result, and all they're doing is continuing to lie and lie and lie. So they had the White House Correspondents Association, which President Trump told them to stick their invitation, but they still had this big, cheering section because, we're the media. We're above you people. We know more. We understand what's really going on. You don't. So listen to this guy who looks like something out of a Rick James video from 1985, who happens to be the president of the White House Correspondents. This is scary.
There are a lot of things. We are competitive and pushy. We are impatient. And sometimes we think we know everything. But we're also human. We miss our families and significant life moments in service to this job. We care deeply about accuracy and take seriously the heavy responsibility of being stewards of the public's trust.
He actually went on stage and just said that. We care greatly about accuracy and we care greatly about being good stewards for public trust. Have you ever seen this guy on MSNBC? Because the guy who's on MSNBC couldn't possibly be making that statement at a dinner while he's being filmed. Again, another psyop for anybody who's watching it. Oh, we care greatly. Our accuracy means so much to us. Obviously not. Obviously not. Let the Rick James guy continue.
What we are not is the opposition. What we are not is the enemy of the people, and what we are not is the enemy of the state.
You don't believe that, do you? You're saying that for the benefit of the barking seals in the audience there. All of the people who are exactly that. Enemy of the state. That's exactly what you people are. Now, I'm hoping that there's no conservative media people in the audience there, because at that point you would have just burst in flames. Because at this point, as the barking seals are clapping, you have to realize every word out of his mouth right there was complete, and I almost said the full word, BS. You know it's BS. You stand in the press conference and spew BS. There is no excuse for what you do. You know that you are nothing more than operatives for, I don't know, some ism, Marxism, socialism, communism. You are paid to do something to promote that. You're not promoting American values. Why? How much are you being paid, and who are you being paid by to spew your venom? And then you have the nerve to go to a dinner and wonder why the president didn't accept an invitation as you completely lie about being good for the American people? It's ridiculous. A complete standing ovation. Yes, we are great. We are virtuous. Hear us roar. We are the media. Wow. But that was very short-lived, because somebody from the media actually had the cojones to stand up and look apart the sea of insanity that he faces probably on a daily basis. After all that cheering died down, he got up and he said this.
One serious note. To my bones, I believe that reporting and the White House Correspondents Association is as necessary as ever. President Biden's decline and its cover-up by the people around him is a reminder that every White House, regardless of party, is capable of deception. But being truth tellers also means telling the truth about ourselves. We, myself included, missed a lot of this story.
No, you're not getting off that easy. You didn't miss shit, excuse my language. You completely tried to hide it. There's a big difference between missing something and intentionally trying to hide it. Huge difference. I might miss and hit my microphone button by mistake, is what you're trying to imply. We made a mistake. No. You meant every bit of that last 3 years. You couldn't make a mistake for 3 years. 4 years. Couldn't do it. And you're still making that so-called mistake even today. Right now, you see Handabar, whatever his name was, I'm going to file impeachment. You know, we just watched the press conference. Hey, excuse me, but the Maryland man. Hey, excuse me, how are you separating parents and kids? Excuse me, about the judge, she shouldn't have been arrested. Hi, Shador Sanders, when should he have been drafted? You're an embarrassment to the American public. You're an embarrassment to the media. Each one of you, look at this.
People try.
All you sitting there in your suits and ties and tuxes, and I see April sitting there. I see the guy far right is Todd Pirro from Fox. All of you, every single one of you in that audience right there who didn't stand up and say, bullshit. You're a fraud. It's got me so pissed off, because how many people in that audience knew it was a fraud, knew they were lying to the American people, and now you got some guy coming up 4 years later and go, hey, we made a mistake. We missed it. You didn't miss anything. The only thing you missed was covering the dementia that he had, that Kamala was useless, and then the election fraud that was all a part of everything for the last 4 years, and the whole stuff he did with Trump, but you're still doing it. There is no mistake if you're continuing to do it. He could have sat there and said, you know what, as a group, right now, we need to clean this up. I will be the first one to say, I will never write another article from a position of complete BS. I will never worry, or I'm not going to change the wording anymore, and I'm going to make sure everybody else knows that these are illegal aliens. Sorry. Right now, starting today, as I'm writing different stories for whatever Axios he is from, I am never going to say that, men can have babies. Never. I'm going to call it real. You could have said that. You could have said all of that. But you don't. And you go right back into the lies and the clapping. When everybody's looking at you guys are all it's just a complete den of BS. It stinks in here. You smell that? I would have been up on stage going, you smell that? Yeah, look around. Because everyone sitting around you smells like yesterday's garbage in the hot Florida sun. If you ever smell garbage in a hot Florida sun, you're like, whew, hey, yeah. It's worse than poop. It just smells putrid. It smells like death wrapped in a poopy diaper. It stinks. It's festering with maggots. and everything else, snakes and iguanas and all kinds of stuff. That's what's sitting in that audience. I don't care that you've got a pretty dress on or a suit or you're a good-looking woman. You stink. Yeah, I said it. I said it. Because it's true. It's undeniably true. You are stench. And all you do is try to fight what's best for America. Every single one of you, I know, even some of you million-dollar salaried people, I know you use conservative principles. Put your accountant out there. Oh, wait, we don't even need that. Oh, we don't need that. Letitia James, Big Letty's about to get arrested. Why? Because she was trying to do some different things and she got caught. But nonetheless, she invested in real estate, right? Yeah, okay. I thought it was all about the peoples. Give your money away. Put your mouth where your wallet is. Nah, Hey, take down the gates around your house. Oh, never fly first class. Never fly private. No, don't do all that. And by the way, if you've got extra rooms in your house, instead of these people staying in hotels or motels, let them stay in there. Because you can't. Because you stink. You have no ethics. You're putrid. You are scum. You are less than scum. At least the scum it earned its name honorably. You didn't earn your name honorably. You became scum. You try to tell everybody that you're not when we see every day that you are. Literally, this was Saturday night, and today inside that press conference, you went right back to liars. Didn't even pass go. Oh, we're such good people, my ass. You're the worst of the worst. You know, there even might be some illegals that come here indeed for a better life. There might be some. They're still criminals. You have the better life. You have the dollars and the private luncheons and the access and the private jets and first row tickets at the basketball game or the football game or in the suite. You have all that. But then you try to tell people that's not the life you should live. You shouldn't want to feel privileged. When I was at Joe's Stone Crab this weekend, and I saw some of the people complaining because, oh, Barry must be nice. Yeah, it is. It really is. If you've never flown private, yeah, it's really nice. You ever flown private? Let me tell you how it is. You know, most of us, when we have to go to fly someplace, we go to the airport, we get strip searched and cavity searched, and then we got to wait, and you got to run down and make sure your gate hasn't been changed, and then you got to squish in between a couple other people if you're not doing first class. When you fly private, you just drive up to the front, you valet your car, and the jet's right, I mean, literally, you go through a sliding door and the jet's, hey, how you doing? You want some champagne? Want something to eat? And you sit down. Guess what? You don't even have to wear a seatbelt, which I never understood. Hey, man, why are they always telling us to wear seatbelts in an airplane? As if that was going to stop something if something was going to crash. Why, when you get on a private plane, you don't have to wear seatbelts? I remember getting on and going, and the other people laughing at me. I'm like, what? He goes, that's not real. What do you mean it's not real? Trust me, if we crash, that seatbelt ain't going to help you. What about for turbulence? It's a whole different life. And they lie to you on a daily and hourly basis so you don't miss what they have. See, that's the whole purpose. If you are stuck in the box I talked to you about at the beginning of the show, then you never miss what you don't have. You can just look, oh, that sucks. I cannot believe people are flying private. I can't believe that they're having catered meals. I can't believe they have walls and gates around their mansions. I can't believe they live in gated communities with guards. But every single one of these people do. If they live in Washington, New York, they live in buildings with doormen. You just can't walk in. Then they get in their limo to go right to the studio. And they're probably stepping over people on the way. They're not stopping. Hey, wait a minute. Do you need some help? You know, I make $6 million a year. Would you like some food? Let me take you to the restaurant. Let me let you buy some stuff at 7-Eleven or the bodega. Can I help you? Hell no. Dude, can you move? Because I'm trying to get to my limo here, okay? And I got to go to the studio up there in the 35th floor. They're scum. And people have to stop treating these people like they have any sort of authority. They're liars. They're getting paid to say whatever they need to say.
Less because of it. We bear some responsibility for faith in the media being at such lows. I say this because acknowledging errors builds trust, and being defensive about them further erodes it. We should have done better.
Now remember, he said this Saturday night, not knowing maybe that people watching this were not going to watch a press conference on Monday morning. Monday morning, 2 days later. You know, we got to do better. We just have to do so much better.
I believe our mission is vital in a world where people are struggling to figure out what's true, and people with power are not telling the truth.
Anybody got any mirrors? I mean, can we go to this thing and go, hey, hold. Look who's not telling the truth. It's you. Wow. You have to wonder if these people even have sanity at this point. Seriously. You have to be completely bat poop crazy to sit in the audience and not realize we stink. Wow. Is that me? No, it can't possibly be me. I'm in the media. I smell like roses. It's you people. We crap all over you 7 days a week. And we make sure you people down there, we need to do. What are you talking about? And they're all clapping like, oh, he must be talking about the other. Oh, he's talking about you, not me. You, okay.
I also believe that this association has been, is, and will continue to be critical to that mission. Thank you to the association's leadership for your unflinching defense of the First Amendment, not just now, but always. Your decades of daily battles on behalf of reporters is why this award is one of the great honors of my life.
Remember, these are the same people that want to censor Republicans, censor MAGA. They don't want you talking on Twitter/X. They don't want you talking on Facebook. They're the first ones who will endorse shutting you up. And he's talking, oh yeah, we're all about the First Amendment for us. It works really well when you control the First Amendment. When everything you say is about you, not about us. Don't trust these people. And at this point, it's beyond trust. Everything they say that comes out of their mouths are lies. You have to start there. Prove to me you're not lying. Because as soon as you start talking, I'm going to be able to tell very quickly if you're full of crap. So tell me again about this Maryland man. Well, he's just a Maryland dad and he wasn't given due process. Start over. Just sit there. Well, I'll tell you about the Maryland man. He was, deported illegally. Try again. Because they can't. Every single thing that happens from them is complete BS. I could not even imagine having an existence, never mind a job, an existence where all I do is lie all day long. How do these people have interpersonal relationships? If you're a woman or a man dating one of these people, or both, how do you know what they're saying? Because they're so used to lying, they can look in the camera. Oh, yeah, so today, honey, I love you. I love you. Yeah. Me? Oh, no, I'm just going to go to work today. I'm going to come right home. I won't stop and talk to anybody. How would you know? They lie for a living. They're worse than some attorneys. And attorneys, they get up there and just have soliloquies for themselves and completely vomit lies. So you wouldn't want these people in your life. So don't let them in your life. Which is why they're losing. That's exactly why they're losing. Because nobody trusts them anymore. You know what's funny? If you believed in the polls in November, and we found out that the polls in November were lies, why would you believe the lies right now? Why is anybody putting any credence in any poll? I talk to Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen all the time, and a poll, I forget who said it. Statistics are just lies because you can, I forget, was it, what's his name? Tom, the book writer, wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin, but he said lies and statistics, and you can look it up. It's all BS. I can make a stat look any way I want, depending on the sample that I pull. Tom Sawyer, that was the name. But it's absolutely crazy. And then they're just doing it all over again. It's all over today. Oh, Trump's approval rating is down in the toilet. Who'd you ask? Same people you asked on November 3rd? Same people? Probably. Same people. We are living in a post-truth world. All they do is lie. And they're going to continue to lie for the next 3 or 4 years. So there is no media. It absolutely does not exist. Find your truth in yourself. Find your truth around people, hopefully like me, who will talk to you and say, you know what's funny? I posted about me and Robin going to Joe's yesterday. I live here in South Florida. We took the limo down to Miami Beach. And I put up a tweet. And it just cracked me up. I mean, to the point where I was like, really, bro? Are you really saying this? Here, let me show you this. This is funny. This was really funny to me. All right, so where am I? There I am. Okay. I posted about our trip. I posted a picture of Robin and I on our way back. Where is it? Let me scroll through, because I want to show you how bad it is. All right, this was the tweet I put up yesterday. Democrats are liars. Writing back from Miami Beach, a few things are quite noticeable. The South Florida economy was booming. Restaurants, packed. No matter what the level. Your local pizza parlor, all the way to Joe's Stone Crab. Packed. Doesn't matter. Construction everywhere. Well, I don't know if you can see out the limo window, but there's high rises and everything, and what you don't see is cranes. They're just building and building and building. Waterways filled with boats. Those little white things back there are boats everywhere. And first comment was from somebody, we're supposed to believe this because you said it? And I thought to myself, that's what the media has done. You can't even believe, when you're seeing the boats and high rises back there, you can't even believe what you're seeing. The previous was me in the restaurant. We're supposed to just believe that? No, I don't give a crap what you believe. I'm telling you the truth. You don't ask those people on television and you're supposed to believe it. You're a lib nut. You have no idea how to discern anymore because you hate Trump that much. You hate Trump so much you won't even let people who are living in a certain area tell you what they're enjoying. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. I mean, yeah, we're supposed to believe this because you said it? You want me to drive around and take pictures? Robin and I go out to dinner once or twice every weekend. I'd say 4 nights out of the 6 nights we order out because I'm doing 2 shows and I'm kind of stuck here, and I told her, I love your cooking, but we ain't got time. I'm going to get off the air here in about, 20 minutes, and I'm going to have to nosh real quick and then get ready for the evening show. So don't bother wasting your time cooking. I love it, but don't waste your time because I don't have time to eat it. So we order out. So So basically, we eat out 7 nights a week. I guess you could say that. When I say eat out, we either bring food in from a restaurant or we go someplace on the weekends. Going to church, packed to the point where they just bought a new building. And so I'm telling people, this is our life down here. And you don't have to hear it from me. I mean, this weekend I'll go out and take pictures of the waterway. You're going to see boats galore. You're going to see people having a great time. She already made reservations for brunch, and there's another restaurant she wants to go to. But if you don't make it at least 2 weeks in advance, you can't get in. I'll even tell you the restaurant. You can do it yourself. There's a restaurant here in town. Okay. Here's some research for you. You want to know how Barry's not lying? Let me look up this restaurant. I want you to call yourself. All right, it's right here in Boca, and you can call yourself. The restaurant is called, as I look to bring it up here, and I challenge anybody to do this so you can see exactly what I'm saying. And again, this isn't a brag. This is just to show you, what Barry's saying is true. This restaurant is called New York Prime. It is a steakhouse here in Boca, literally about 3 miles away, maybe 4. Go ahead and call and see if you can get a reservation tonight, tomorrow. It's Monday. You might be lucky. Snowbirds are leaving. You go ahead and try to get a reservation for the weekend. After they get done laughing, well, then you're going to have to call us maybe like next week or 2 weeks from now. Mobbed. I only say that, again, it's not any sort of chest thumping. It's because people don't even believe how people in certain areas are completely agnostic to what these people in the media are saying, which is why they all come here, which is why AOC and everybody comes here. It's because they know, hey man, I ain't got to live like those idiots in the blue states. And I'm not talking about you. I'm not calling you an idiot if you live in the blue state. My only thing I'm underscoring is the libs don't want you to know the truth. Even the people on X. Even not the people on X, just randos. We're supposed to believe this because you said it. So they've got people out there just saying things to try and tamp you down. They don't want you to know your gas prices are falling. They don't want you to know that your grocery prices are falling. They don't want you to know that eggs and when I was hoping to have Steve on, Steve Moore today. Hey, what are you thinking with interest rates? They don't want you to know life is changing, because to do that negates everything they're saying. Every single thing that they're saying. SB just said, okay, so you guys know, let me change things here because something's going on. You guys knew about Spain and Portugal and all their grids going down, right? Well, equipment outage caused mass flight disruptions in Newark. A major equipment failure at Philly's Tracon facility, which controls Newark's airspace, has flights stuck, circling, or bailing out to other cities. Newark is holding departures on the ground. One Delta flight is even flirting with taking off under visual flight rules, something you only hear about in flight school, not at a major U.S. airport. Pilots are being told to sit tight for another update round at 3:30 p.m. Get out of blue states. That's what we have to say. I understand that's unreasonable for some people. They can't move, and there's nothing. It's very weird, very weird. But anyway, let me take some comments so I can get out of here, and you guys can get out of here and come back for the night show. You can get a reservation for 6:30 tonight on a Monday night. Okay, go for that. Go for that. Try to call back and ask him about the weekend. Other than, hey, what's this? Nothing in Rhode Island has dropped a penny. That's a blue state, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, more people without power is happening. Is this the 10 days? I don't know. Trust you, Barry, live in Orlando. Orlando's doing well as well. Let's see. Brussels controls Portugal. Mm-hmm. I trust you, Barry lives here. This is scary. It's scary. Flagler Beach in Florida, that's up by the Jacksonville area, is packed to the gills. That's right. We just bought a house in Clearwater and waiting to sell our house in Chicago. Congratulations, congratulations. Red states have blue cities too. Yes, they do. Yeah, that's true. In fact, I live in what's be considered a blue county for voting. They don't live like that though. Oh man, let's see. Even our electric, I believe we're at war, but no one is acknowledging it. Oh yeah, I've acknowledged it. General Flynn has acknowledged it. Somebody said the villages are doing well. Oxford, Alabama is hopping. Yeah. The bottom line with this is, and President Trump said, this is the answer. Live your life. Whatever that life is, enjoy it. Embrace it. Love it. Live it. And stop listening to these idiots. Anything else? Gas in Dayton, Ohio. Wow, $2.50. Yeah, you're right, girl. She says, living in a blue state, there's nothing wrong. I live in Maine, and half of us are red. I have my house and family here and love Maine. I loved Maine, man. We went to Camden. Camden is absolutely incredible. If you've never been to Camden, and what was the other place we went? Not to another place on the shore up there. It was very, very nice. Texas hasn't dropped. Eggs are high, and oatmeal just went up. Let's see here. I'm doing the same. Just live. That's all you gotta do. Just live. This is the beginning. What is it? Ocala. If you guys have never been to Ocala as well, Ocala is kind of a rural area outside of Orlando, and Ocala's doing well. You know things are well. Must be nice to eat out 7 days a week. Me and my elderly mom are so poor we'd be lucky to eat out once or twice a year. It is nice. Let me show you how nice it is. I do this once in a while. Once in a while. Go ahead and hit up Beth or SV in the chat and get us your email address, and I will get you a gift certificate to the restaurant of your choice in your area. See, if you and your mom, elderly mom, haven't eaten out, I want you to enjoy life on me and Robin. Deal? So you know people can do it, so that you can maybe get dressed up, maybe you can take an Uber, and you and your mom will go have a fantastic meal somewhere wherever you live on me. And then with your only cost, here's your cost. I don't know your name. You're going to have to tell SV or Roaring Rage or Beth your name. Your only cost is when you go to wherever you're going to go. And I'm challenging you. I'm not going to send you cash. I'm going to call the restaurant ahead of time and work out something with them. But all your cost is, the only thing you have to do is take a bunch of pictures and video with your smiling mom and you having dinner. That's the deal. So if you want to have some fun and go have a meal that you and your mom haven't had in a year, that's what we do. That's why we're giving out trips. That's why we're going to fly some people down here and you see it for yourself. You know, a lot of you guys have asked, when are we going to get together? Now that the tourists are kind of leaving and it's getting slower down here, the snowbirds are, because it's getting hot, real hot. Now would be a time for us to figure out where we can put some people and have some people come down for a get-together. So, there you go, Miss Outspoken. Outspeak. Contact one of the mods, give them your information, and we'll get you and your mom a nice dinner. All right, let's do that. All right, so where are we here? Let me go ahead and look at some super chats. Let me play this in the interim. I just want to say thank you to the fanfare community. And if you're new here, I'd like to take a moment and welcome you. If you watch my videos, you've probably realized at this point that this isn't your usual podcast. The difference is that every single day I try to make this show an open conversation amongst friends. You see, I believe that speaking to friends, here and in your own circle offline, is the best way to push back against all the lies being told by the Democrats and the media. I encourage people in this community to welcome each other, and in doing so become a source of support for those seeking to unplug from the matrix. If you'd like to communicate on a deeper level, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, but if you'd really like to surround yourself with like-minded patriots, join our free and private X group by going to fanfareshop.org/group. When you join this free group, a few things will happen. One, if you haven't used X before, you can use X without venturing into the sewer that it sometimes can be. Two, you can share content with friends that you meet here. 3, you will get notified every time I go live, so you can't count on YouTube notifications. And 4, and this might be most important, you get content that I can't share on YouTube or Rumble. So please take a moment and join our free and private X group. Just go to fanfareshop.org/group. Remember, it's members only. There are 16,000 plus people in that group right now, getting close to 17,000. To join our free and private members only X group, just go to fanfareshop.org/group. We'll see you there.
Welcome back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Let me go ahead and do the super chats right now. Got an amazing thing that happened. Let me bring this up real quick. So you guys probably have seen it, but the Viking King says here's $100 towards Miss Outspoken and Mom going to dinner. Oh yeah, hold on. Thank you very, very much. So Miss Mom, Miss Outspoken, you're about to have an awesome dinner. Again, your only cost is you're going to have to get us some pictures, and you know, we want 2 sets of pictures. Let's go a little bit further. We want pictures of when you tell your mom she's getting ready to go to dinner. You're going to tell your mom, hey, these guys, I watched this show, and the host and some of the people in here have said, let's go ahead and have a dinner. Elderly mom. How old's your mom? Your elderly mom has not had a night out in a year. Let's get a picture of her going, what? You can take a screenshot or whatever. Love to see that. And then when you go to dinner, we want to see the whole thing. We want to see the video. We want to see what you guys are eating. And now with what Viking King is doing and what we're doing, you probably get to bring a couple of your other family members or a couple of friends as well. But we just want to see pictures. And I guess there's one other cost. Actually, it's a cost for me. God bless you. See, I am, and Robin has taught me, like, when you give in the name of the Lord. So I bless you. God bless you. I hope you and your mom have a fantastic time. You're welcome. Just get the information at one of the mods. All right, Tilly. Good afternoon, Fanfare family. Job for 9, saying or prove true. Misery loves company. Just another knucklehead. Oh, that was me. Podcasting must be. Oh, okay. I saw that. I was meaning that as a ritzy place. I went in Dallas, but Booze Allen was by. All right, that was you. I didn't recognize your handle. Demon of Cybertron. One thing people don't realize that some people that are in a good place now have struggled for a major part of their lives when their pride hurts. You know what's really weird about that is most people aren't willing to talk about it when they didn't have anything. And I always figure that's something you need to tell people because it gives them aspiration. Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going. And surround yourself with the right people and seek the right advice and just keep going and keep praying and keep praying and keep praying and, you know, in God's time. Lou Maldonado, Barry, 20 Bitcoin sentiment yesterday was, okay, thank you. Yorkie Mom, I love the way you explain things. Keep up the great work. You should interview President Trump next. I wish. That'd be awesome. With much love, Angelina. Hey, Angelina, thank you. How Granny sees it. Hub and I listened over the weekend. Sunday we started 3 new businesses, both stated courses on AI. We're aiming for the pick will be in retirement. Take your time, do your research, but congratulations. Joni Lee, Barry, please consider interviewing Chef Chad Bianco. Saving California will benefit everyone. You've been doing great. Chad Bianco. Never heard of him, but I will look up. Chad Bianco. All right, I will look him up for sure. Barry, I use AI as my personal assistant very well. It does work. Shine out of focus. I wonder why President Trump doesn't talk about harnessing free energy that would solve the demand by AI. He can't monetize it, unfortunately, because they need so much. Tilly, who is this clown? That was a congressman from Michigan. Shelly says that was tattooed from Fantasy Island. He did look like him. Oh my goodness. Jennifer Nunn, he should have taken that time to get a haircut instead of making that video. He should have taken the time. Josh doing stuff. He also imposed a fine of $2 million payable in Target or Google gift cards. Tilly, the swamp is deeper and smellier than I thought. Indeed it is. Buddy Sanders. All the Indian immigrants I know love President Trump. Yes, absolutely they do. Many of them. Tilly, some people do and say anything for money. Tilly, my mom would say that poop isn't getting deep. That poop is getting deep. Time to get the boots out. Whoa, that jumped way past here. Okay, job for 9. MSM has to be subjected to Clockwork Orange methods for them to tell the truth. I think he's talking about this, right? And make them look. God bless and thanks, Barry, to our family team. Vaelka, do these senators have to be American citizens? He's a citizen. He took the test years ago. Viking King, thank you. Just talked about that. Jerome Lambert kicks in for dinner. Thank you, Jerome. Carmen Flores, a little something from Miss Outspoken. Man, you guys are awesome. Oh, we're going to get him a nice dinner. Sherry Bertrand, thank you. Tommy, Barry, you know the difference. I've been around 8 with many races, and you are the best example that there is no difference between a black man, white, red. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Wow, look at you guys with this dinner. Maximus, I'm helping. Thank you very much, Kara. Helping to clean up Los Angeles because it's worth saving. It is. Mr. Mike, in regards to the press conference, you appreciate you tell him, think awesome. Thank you. Jeff, help with dinner. And Solrak, please pray for my 4-year-old baby cousin. Drowned in Massachusetts and has been missing for many days. Wow, that's hard. That's hard. Yes, definitely pray for that. Definitely. That hurts. So, all of you, thank you for contributing to Miss Outspoken's dinner. I hope she gets a hold of us, but if she doesn't get a hold of us, we're gonna pick somebody else to go for dinner. I just blurted it out, just happened to see it, and nothing was planned. I don't know her, but if she doesn't get out, we'll get somebody else to dinner. Maximus said, one thing he learned this weekend is Trump isn't playing anymore, which is probably what scares them the most. I would venture to say that's probably what scares the bejeebus out of them. All right, so it's 3:47. President Trump is going to be meeting with the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll go ahead and record that, and then I'll play it at tonight's show. Tonight's show, we're going to go live at 6:30, so just a couple hours. I have my link to log into Scott Besson's workshop. I hope it works. And so we should have him signing executive orders. We should have the Philadelphia Eagles, and then we also should have the workshop. And if the workshop I can't log into, then I'll have content to talk about as well. All right, so you guys know what's next. It's the after party. Thank you for tuning in on a Monday afternoon. So much happening. I can't believe we had 2 press conferences today. 2? Unbelievable. All right, talk to you at 6:30. Oh, wait. Was I supposed to do something else here? Let me just make sure. Yep, I was supposed to do something. Let me, don't go away. I'm supposed to talk about this. All right, so again, they really want me. A lot of people are asking for it, so they want to give it, and so I'm going to show it. Where is it? Come here. Is it? Hold on, let me get it straight. President of the United States, and I'm trying to read it from behind. Where's Donald Trump? There we go, Donald Trump. All right. So this hope you can still hear me, but this is the Trump blanket. It's pretty big. You can tell from my wingspan that it's a pretty big blanket. And this Trump blanket is ticking liberals off, and it's hilarious. I guess you could wear it on the beach or something. Patriot Addict is back with another exclusive release just for the Fanfare family for limited time only. They're giving this blanket away for free. Look at this thing. You know, I might buy a couple and give them away as well. No hidden charges, no recurring fees, none of that. Just cover a small shipping fee and it's yours. The blanket is obviously gorgeous. I wouldn't just say it. It's warm. It's got like a terry feeling to it. It's colorful and it shows American pride and support of President Trump. It's a bold symbol of America's comeback and real leadership. And let's be honest, it's a nice blanket on top of everything else. Like I said, I use it. The reason why I always have to reach for it, because it's always in the living room when we're watching television. It's just very comfortable. I'll leave it up here. Anyway, this offer is only available to Fanfare family viewers. Bet you don't see it anywhere else. Go ahead and click the QR code right here to order yours. Don't wait. Scan the QR code now or head over to, I think you can get it. Nah, just scan the QR code. I don't think there's a link to the actual page yet. Again, just scan the QR code, and this big, just to give you an idea, my arm length, my wingspan is 6 feet, and you can't see my arm. So it's a very, I mean, it's got to be like almost like a king size blanket because it goes 6 feet out that way. So go ahead, scan the QR code, and this blanket could be yours. And let's go ahead and finish up with the after party.